Yo, 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 what is going on, everybody? It is Tuesday, and we are back for another Right to Real Love live show. As y'all can see, I'm joined by my lovely co host, Tatiana, and tonight we have some very special guests joining us. First and foremost, want to say what's up to my girl, Cherie. How you doing tonight?
Hello. I'm great.
Yes, so excited to have you on here with us. Andre, what's going on, man? So glad to finally have you on the show, bro.
Hey, thanks for having me. I appreciate being here.
Yes, man. Such an honor, man. When you be dropping some gems in the chat and now the people actually get to hear you on the show, this is going to be really good. Tonight, we're going to be talking about the signs that a woman is dating out of lack. Before we get into the topic, I do want to allow our guests tonight to introduce themselves. So, by all means, I'm going to start with you, Andre. Just let the people know a little bit about you, your age, your marital status, and if there's anything that you want to promote in any way that they can support you, feel free to let them know.
Thank you so much. My name is Andre Pearson. I am a relationship coach. I have a YouTube channel, book, podcast, all with the same name of Why Does Love Hurt So Good? Now, on my channel, book, and podcast, I'll talk about the things that we go through, allow, and put up with just to have someone love us in our lives. Because as we all know, loving someone can be amazing because when it's good, it's good. When it's bad, it hurts. And what I do a lot of times with people is help them walk through what it is they're going through to let them know they're not alone. But they also don't have to take and do things by themselves. Someone can actually talk to them, understand where they're coming from, and allow them an opportunity to do so. So if anyone want to check it out, want to check me out, simply put my name in the search box or the YouTube box, box. You'll be able to find me that way. I'm telling you, just like we talk about tonight, it is something to check out.
Oh yeah, yeah, Andre, you are doing great, man. Your videos over there, you definitely are not afraid to dive into a controversial topic or two. But I always love your perspectives, and that's the one thing that I really like about your content is the fact that you come in and you present it in a way in which people may not necessarily expect it. You know, they go in thinking like, "Oh man, he probably gonna say this," but then when you get in there, you dropping all type of gems that people never would have expected. So I definitely would advise anybody to go and check your channel out. There's a link already in the description, so open up a new tab and go and subscribe to his channel and show him some love. And with that being said, we also have another guest joining us tonight, my man CEO. What's going on, bro? Just want to welcome you to tonight's stream, man. How you doing tonight?
I'm all right. How's everybody doing?
Doing well, bro. So, Cherie, coming over to you, would you mind introducing yourself to the people, let them know a little bit about you and your amazing book?
I am Cherie. I love God. I am single with a capital S, and I am the author of the Abstinence Bible. Just came out last year. Just talking about how it's just not perfection. It's more so discipline when it comes to abstinence. Sometimes we feel like, oh, I don't have it. It's just discipline. So I am the author. I'm also, if you didn't know by now, I'm an abstinence advocate, talking about how to abstain until marriage. That's
Oh
me.
yeah, Cherie, you always be dropping gems, and I love the fact that you're unapologetic, like you stand on your square, and I love it. Your book is absolutely amazing, and I already got to thank you for sending me a copy. So I definitely got mine on deck. So I definitely would like to say thank you again for that. So many gems that you be dropping in the book, and we've had previous conversations before, and they have always been amazing. So I just want to thank you so much for just coming on the show. Already know we in for a treat tonight for sure.
Yes,
Now,
yes,
I
yes, yes.
do have some comments already coming in the chat. Want to give a huge shout out to JD. We appreciate you so much for joining us tonight, and definitely thank you so much for your contributions to the ministry. They definitely mean a lot to what we're doing over here. And also want to give a huge shout out to Tiffany in the building. She says, "Hello, Jay, Tatiana, guests, and chat mates. Looking forward to a great show tonight. Thank you all. Yeah, it's gonna be a great show tonight. I promise you that." And we're glad to have you here joining us tonight, Tiffany. And with that being said, coming over to my man, CEO, what's going on, bro? Definitely let the people know a little bit about you and what you got going on and how they can support you.
Well, Jay, we've been rocking for a minute. So whenever you launch something, if I get wind of it, I'm gonna catch the sale and try to support. So, that's what I'm here for is to help and to give advice and also to learn from the panel. So, um, I'm Mr. CEO status on Instagram, TikTok, um, Facebook as well. So if you want to look me up, that's where I'm at.
Yo, I appreciate that. And CEO, you already know, like you said, we go way, way back, man. Like CEO know me back when I first was live streaming, like so many years ago. And you were one of our first supporters on the live show that I was doing with my girl, Miss P, at the time. And yo, man, you still been rocking. You've been a guest on the Right to Real Love podcast. And yeah, you found out I put a reel up on IG. Y'all know I'm still struggling trying to figure out the IG. But I put a reel up, and my man CEO, he hit me in the DM like, "Yo, man, I gotta get on the show. Like, how do I do that, man? I didn't know you had this live show popping." I'm like, "Yo, bro, let's make it happen." So happy to have you on here with us tonight. This is going to be a great show. And before we get into tonight's first question, I want to give a huge shout out to Portia once again for sponsoring another show. I mean, like, yo, I tell you, I be so excited, man. We go off of these shows last week. She was so touched by our discussion when we were talking about how to overcome trust issues, man. And she left an amazing contribution for the work that we're doing. And I just want to say thank you so much, Portia, and everybody else who continues to support what we're doing here. It means a lot to me. And I promise y'all, those contributions, I'm stacking them up so I can get this social media thing together. So I promise y'all funds are going to be put to great use so that we can grow and expand together. So thank you guys so much for that. But I want to kick things off, y'all. We're going to skip our regular pre-show little icebreaker and dive right into today's topic. We're going to be talking about signs that a woman is dating out of lack. Now, Cherie, this is actually a topic that you and I kind of came together and, it's our brainchild. So I'm going to come to you first on this one, and I hope you don't mind. And the question that I would like to have you answer is, what does it mean that a person, and in this case, a woman, is dating out of lack? What does it mean to date out of lack?
The way I instantly interpret it is settling. It's taking crumbs for the sake, maybe it's timing, maybe it's just trying to overcome a past relationship. So I just grab this one real quick, or just the environment that you're in. So I know this person is my neighbor. He's in the same building as me. Yeah, it'll be great for us to get together. That type of thing.
I hear that. I hear that. And before I come over to my man Andre, I want to give a huge shout out to my man Black Belt from the Dojo of Manhood for joining us. We appreciate you for coming in, bro. Thank you so much. Coming up to you, Andre. What do you think it means when we say that a person is dating out of a lack? What does that mean?
Well, way I understand it, and way I say the thing on my channel as well, people themselves, when you're dating today, is totally different than it was years ago when your parents were dating. The identification of things that we give names to. There was a point in time back in the day when your parents called one another husband and wife. Today's terminology is baby mamas, baby dramas, yeah, baby daddies and baby mamas. So here we are in a term where relationships are not taken as seriously as it should be. And this is why a lot of people, when women are dating themselves and putting themselves in positions where they think that they're coming up when they're not, poly relationships and things of that nature, thinking that, oh, well, I'd rather be with a man than be alone. That's something that people go through. Low self-esteem, want to be with somebody, to hate to be by themselves because they don't understand that there's a difference between being alone and being lonely. Now, no one needs to settle for anything. And just because you settle for a guy that's not top notch or high volume or things of that nature doesn't mean anything to the world, because what it comes down to is what is the qualities and things that you're looking for in that person. Now, that person may be working McDonald's as a manager, but he has all the qualities and treats you the way you're supposed to be treated, and you want to be treated and loved by him, then that person is right for you. It is not called settling because he's not making millions of dollars. It's a simple fact of what kind of criteria are you putting together and expectations that you have for yourself as standards.
Yo, I hear that, Andre. Okay, coming over to you, CEO. What does it mean to date out of lack from your perspective?
Well, first off, if you look at the definition of the word lack, it means the state of being without or not having enough of something. So for someone to date out of lack, then they feel like there is an inherent need, not necessarily a want, but a need for them to settle. And then you also have to realize that not everybody's standards are realistic. Social media allows for people to have these outlandish standards that are not only unattainable for the person that they're trying to be interested in, it's unattainable for them themselves. So they settle out of stress. Like I mentioned to you earlier when we were talking, there's some women that they settle because they're tired of shouldering the load themselves. They're tired of the bills, paying all the bills themselves. They're tired of dealing with all these kids by themselves. And so they'll settle for a piece of a man or pieces of a man just to relieve the amount of stress that they have in their life.
Nah, that's good. That's good. And Tatiana, coming over to you from a woman's perspective, what does it mean to date out of lack?
I actually wrote about this a few years ago on my blog, and I wanted to talk about the dating out of lack because that's something that I had experienced at that time. So I described it as operating out of lack, meaning not enough or in a state of poverty and desperation. Like that could be mentally, that could be emotionally, that could be spiritually, and it can translate into how you operate in your relationships.
Nah, that's good. That's good. And similar to the point that CEO made, when I think about dating out of lack, to me, it symbolizes that there's a void, something missing. As he mentioned, like you're not full up. There's something that you desire. In this case, I think when we talk about relationships, that isn't there. And I think it is more so to do with the personal lack as opposed to the lack of something external. And that's what, when I think about a woman dating out of lack, I think that there is something internally that is unresolved or missing, and she's trying to correct it or fill that void with the externalness of a man or a companionship or dating. So that's the perspective that I have when I think of this question of, a woman dating out of lack. And with that in mind, coming back over to you, Cherie, what do you think are some of those voids that a woman is trying to fill in her life by, getting out onto that dating scene?
I was holding it down. Listen, because I just feel like we did not talk about this dating pool though. This dating pool is something to talk
Talk
about.
about it. Talk about it then.
It got but a couple drops of water in it. I just saying we can't neglect the quality of the pool. Um, so yeah, just put that out there. Now, what was your question? Because I was holding that one now.
Nah, you good. And I appreciate you for dropping out on it. So my question is, why do some women date to fill the voids in their lives? If I could simplify it that way.
I'm not above being transparent. Um, it was a point, especially during the pandemic, where I was writing the book at the Abstinence Bible, and I'm like, you know what? I'm going to try the online dating. And so I'm looking at the people that like my pictures and stuff, and I'm like, oh my God, it's horrible, it's horrible. Finally, I get to somebody, and we're talking through the app, and I could see certain signs, but I just started to say, let maybe I'm overthinking, but I know I got discernment. So I'm like, okay, and I know better. But I was just like, we're in the pandemic. I can't go out. I can't do anything. So everything's on social media. And it was like what I was saying in terms of convenience. Like it's right here. Let me just keep talking. Maybe I'll be able to understand more. So it definitely wasn't God got me out of it. That's how he is. But yeah, it could be self-esteem, it could be the convenience, it could be a number of things inside that you just don't want to be by yourself. That fear of being alone is huge. I remember at one point that Jennifer Lopez was saying that she does not like to be alone. And I'm like, you Jennifer Lopez, how you how you gonna
We
do that?
know. Jayla, stay in
But
a relationship.
say again.
Yeah, Jayla, stay in a relationship. I was like, we know.
Yes, she said she would not be single. Okay, and so what is that? What is that going on inside of you that you feel like you cannot be by yourself for 2 months, 6 months, a year, just to get to know yourself?
That's real. That's real. Yeah. And I think that that's important. That kind of goes back to something that was actually brought up by Black Belt in the chat. He had left this comment. He was saying, is it possible that we all date or marry out of lack? It's not socially natural to be alone. And by definition, you're looking for someone to bring things that you cannot. So the reason why I bring this up is to that point. I feel like everybody experiences being alone. Everybody experiences to some extent or at some point in their life loneliness. And I got to go back to something that Andre said, which is there's a distinction between loneliness and being alone. And if there's one of those that is to be avoided, I think it's the loneliness. I think that that's something that we can curb, we can work on ourselves. So when it comes to being alone, you know, to the point that that black belt is making, you know, there's going to be times when we're alone. And I agree that socially our society sets it up where, especially for women, if I can be clear, especially for women, it's taught for them not to be alone. Like you should have somebody in your life, and I don't think that that's necessarily a bad thing. But when a person is doing that in order to avoid resolving internal issues, things that they need to work through to put themselves in a better position, that's where I think it has more so to do with like dating out of lack from the perspective that we're talking about, and not just so much to overcome you know, they're being alone. But that's just my take on it. You know, I would love to get your take, Tatiana. I saw you were gesturing a little bit. What's your take on that?
Oh no, I was just saying like what I said in my definition is not the definition of like, oh, I need to, not be alone socially. It's just because you're desperate for anything. So you're willing to take anything just to not be single anymore. That's I guess the perspective I want to address from the lack point.
Nah, that's a good point. Good point. Andre, what's your take on it when it comes to like being alone and loneliness? If you don't mind expounding on that a little bit more.
Well, in my book, I talk about that. And when I talk to people one-on-one, I say the same thing. I break down, first of all, when you get involved with someone, before you approach a woman, before a man approach a woman, or a woman approach a man, know what it is that you want in life and with someone. Because if you have no idea what you want, you will settle for whatever they tell you. Remember now, if you give a man, if a woman gives a man, because this doesn't happen to apply to all women, but for the most part, if a woman gives the man the keys, she cannot be upset where the hell he drives her to. She gave him the keys. He's driving. She has no idea where he's going. And then at the last minute, she said, oh, I don't want to go here. Well, did he know that? Did you communicate what your standards and expectations are when you first start this whole process? No. Then you wonder why these kind of guys approach you. You have to get your questions in your own mind first, right? What is it you want? What is your standards? What's your expectations? What are realistic expectations? As my man said earlier, you have to have realistic expectations and be willing to do things. Because I've talked to people many times, and ladies, you can contest to this if you like to. Tell me right now of a person, whether it be a celebrity or whoever in your life, that you would love to date if you could. Who would that be?
Idris.
Okay.
Okay, I'm sorry. Tatiana.
That's fine. That's fine.
You
And,
go.
and
Yo,
Tatiana, how
like
about
that
you?
response was like I don't even know. Was
That was
that
rapid
like
fire.
was that like a that I don't even know how fast that was. That was so quick. Like she knew the question my man was about to ask before. It was just like, Cherie, that was a quick one, girl. You
Sorry.
was quick
Watch me,
with it,
Lord.
quick draw.
Watch me.
Well, you, Tatiana, how about you?
I'm happy with who I'm dating, so I would keep
Okay.
continuing to date them.
Now, watch this. Here's a question for you. If the person that you're dating now, or the celebrity Cherie decide to pick, if those men tell you on day one,
Mm-hmm.
I'm a cheater, liar, thief, I do everything bad, but they look good, would you still date them?
It's not enough, Andre. Not
I
enough to
know,
stick
but
around.
for you, it's not enough. Someone will bypass that. They collect red flags like they're trophies and put them in their backseat and keep driving. Then they wonder at the end of the day, why he lied to me, why he cheat. He told you in the beginning, this is who
Before
he
you knew who
was.
it was. Come
But
on.
because he was fine, he looked good. You figured that because you threw it on him, you're
Ooh.
going to change his mind. You're going to get everything changed around. But I can tell you right now, that never works in no situation. That's why there are side chicks and will always be side chicks. You will always have these poly relationship situations because some women, and let me be clear, some women, but not all, do not really care about what other people think if they're not alone. If this man is giving them some things, trinkets, taking care of bills and things of that nature, they don't care what the man does, as long as he brings some stuff home for them. This is why they get mad at people when they say, you know what? There's no need to go out here rushing to find a man. There's no need to rush and find a woman. Because the one thing I tell women that today, and I make this very clear to women, is listening. If you want to know how your man's going to treat you, look at how you treat his mother. Because if you don't treat her with no respect, there's no way on this earth he's going to treat you with respect. But you're going to hang with him because he has resources. He has things you need. He takes things off your plate. Remember now, the man who wears the crown makes the rules. This is why you hear so many young men out today have no idea what their relationship should be because they don't know their role. If a woman is calling herself Christian, knows her role in the relationship, she knows point blank when a man says, let's do things 50-50. There is no scripture in the Bible anywhere that says a woman should be splitting bills 50-50 with a man. But he got you tricked into thinking that you should.
Ladies,
If you knew your role as a man, if you knew your role, you would know. And I always ask men this question when I hear them say, I want a woman to do 50-50. So I ask them this question. Tell me your definition and what does it mean to you when you hear the word provider, kingdom man, head of household? What does those words mean to you? Because when you can define those words to me, then you understand what your role is. Because remember, the Bible says that a woman to a man is a helpmeet. But if he has nothing for her to help him with, what the hell does she do? She turns into the provider herself. And you know what happens? Roles get reversed. Household gets into arguments. Things come up. Things that people are not satisfied because you're doing his role and you took over his role and now he wants the crown back. He wants you to pay the bills, he'll pay everything and call him king of the house. How is that possible? So
To
I
your
tell women all the
point,
time, yes, go ahead.
I'm sorry. No, I'm sorry. Keep going. Keep going. I thought you were.
I tell people all the time when I talk to them, don't get stuck on what a man looks like because age and things will fade. Because the Temptation said, beauty's only skin deep. If you listen to the words in that song, he's telling you, I'd rather have a woman that I like and treats me well than some beautiful woman who is bad to me. So we got to think about it. Are we looking for relationship, companionship, things that we need, we feel that we need in our relationship? Are we looking for what other people think? Because women will stay with men because other women want that man, not because they love them, because they want the other woman to have them. So I tell people all the time, be careful what you wish for. You just might get it.
Oh man, Andre dropping gems already, yo. The chat is noticing. We are noticing on the
yes, thank
panel.
you.
And before I come to you, Sheree, because I know there was something that you wanted to share, I wanted to give a huge shout out to Tanisha for joining us. We appreciate you. And in the chat, by all means, you guys, I know some of you are already familiar with the process. You guys are answering the question as we go along. For those of you who are tuned in and you have yet to share your thoughts and your opinions or any questions that you have, drop them in the chat. We are always open to wanting to hear your thoughts, your perspectives. So they are welcome. So coming over to you, Sheree, was there something that you wanted to share with regards to what Andre was sharing?
Yes, to his point about communication styles, excellent point because that was actually on my list of things to talk about because I don't think we don't ask enough questions. It's more so let's take a picture, let's go out, but it's not enough questions. I mean, beyond what's your favorite color and zodiac sign, we don't ask enough questions, and that is so critical during the dating process. As I'm sure we've all heard, dating is about collecting data. And so we're not doing that in favor of let me show my ex that I'm with somebody else and da da da. So it's important that we ask questions and then take stop doing all the talking, listen. It's a debate exchange. And also to your point about how he treats his mother, that's so critical in terms of respect. But I also realized that there are some men that didn't have good mothers. So respect is has to be there no matter what, good, bad, whatever. But I understand that there may be some unhealed areas in that because I had unhealed areas as well in my family. So but respect has to be there. But if it may not be necessarily as close as, for example, my mother and I, but that it has to be there.
That's an excellent point, Sheree. And I think that is one that isn't often brought up when people talk about, look at how a man treats his mother or how a woman is treating her father. And context is so important. You guys hear me talk about this all the time. Looking at the context of that person's individual relationship plays a role. We understand, especially for those who subscribe to biblical principles, that we are told to honor our father and mother. And to the point that you made, honoring somebody is completely different from having that, super close, like this is my, my road dog or my homie or my home girl, like different relationships that people have with their parent. So to shade somebody or to look at them negatively because they don't have like this super close relationship with that father or with that mother, that can't be a knock. if you don't know the context. I feel like at least get an idea of the context or how they grew up, their upbringing. That plays a role with regards to how they relate to their parents. So I'm really glad that you brought that up, because that's something that I don't think people will focus on, and they'll just be like, oh man, well, he's disrespectful to his mother. Well, like, you don't know what that dynamic is. Like, you don't know what type of disrespect she may have been heaping on him throughout his entire life, and the type of baggage that people are carrying around. So really great point. CEO, coming over to you, man. Like, a lot has been said, but would love to get your thoughts on why do you think some women date to fill the voids in their life?
Well, before I answer that question, one
Of
other
course.
thing that I wanted to piggyback off of was what women, and I think men as well, need to be really careful about when it comes to dating is the information that they relay as far as what they want in an individual, because there are a lot of people that will act according to what it is that you say that you want in a person, knowing that they don't have those qualities themselves. And eventually that mask will crack, and then you'll get to see the real them. But then you're frustrated and angry because you feel like they wasted the one thing that you can't get back, which is time. And that could have been time that you could have been spent with the person that you're meant to be with, that could fully help you grow, keep you on the path that you're supposed to be on. And like I said, indeed, instead you wasted your time with somebody who's just being an actor trying to play a role in your life at that particular moment for their own gain, not necessarily to help you.
Nah, I hear that. I hear that. Tatiana, what's your take on it? Why do you feel like some women may be dating to fill these voids in their life?
Sometimes, they lack purpose. And so when, like, if you're bored with your life, you may be not looking to do anything that's productive. So you may have the societal belief that because you're bored, you should go dating or you should have a man in your life. Well, maybe it might not be that season for you to date. Maybe it's that season for you to build or work on yourself, like we've been saying. And then that's when we get caught up in situationships and relationships out of lack because we haven't realized there's something that we need to focus on first before pursuing a romantic relationship. Because not everybody has the same idea for what they want out of a relationship, as so you may be the one who's like, I want to explore, I just want to do me, I just want to get what I can out of this situation. And you end up dating someone who is trying to date with purpose. They want to date to get married. And so those are two different mentalities and ideas. And so if you guys don't talk about that, or you don't realize you all are on two different wavelengths before you get emotionally attached, there could be just a whole bunch of dysfunction that comes from that.
Great point. Yo, everybody is dropping gems thus far. I hope you guys are enjoying it in the chat. By all means, continue to leave your thoughts and your perspectives with us. And if you have any questions, my man Black Belt is already dropping a lot of them. And I just want to let you know, Black Belt, I see the questions coming through. I'm starring them. When I find the right time in our conversation, I will interject some of the questions, or some of them I may actually wait until the end when we have already kind of ran through the main topic for today. But I appreciate you for sharing them, and definitely keep them coming, you and anybody else who has questions. So I actually want to come over to my man CEO, come back over to you, man. The next
Okay.
question that I like to ask is, what do you think are some of the voids or some of the issues that need to be resolved before a woman starts to date?
Well, I'm glad that you asked that question because I was actually getting ready to interject. What a lot of people do, women and men, is when they hop from relationship to relationship to relationship, and they date all of these other individuals, there's one vital person that they forget to take the time to date, and that is themselves. Because when you date yourself, you realize, you know what? All these years that I've been going to Olive Garden, I really don't like Italian food. I don't like pasta like that. I like authentic food, but they're always settling for where somebody else wants to go.
Come on.
So when you take the time to date yourself, then you realize, you know what? I don't necessarily need somebody to go out to eat. I don't necessarily need somebody to go to the movies. I don't necessarily need somebody to take this trip to Dubai or to the Bahamas or what have you. I don't need somebody to buy a house. I don't need somebody to buy a car. And it builds their self-esteem. So when a man comes to them and is like, "Hey, I can offer to take you out to eat. We can go to Red Lobster." Oh, that's cool. I had that last week by myself. So then, as their standards raise, then he has to bring a whole lot more to the table because she already is the table. And depending upon the women, some of them already have the chairs and the placemats and the silverware sitting at the table as well.
Well, would you say there's a fine line between having that confidence, Mr. CEO, and crossing over into what many men tend to say that women have is I don't know, elitist attitude or entitled attitude or I don't need no man attitude that kind of pushes men away. Like, what would you say that women should do to have that balance of confidence, but not push a man away with their independence?
Well, what women need to realize is it's okay, well, actually, it's great to be confident and to some degree have that level of entitlement. But also remember, a man wants to feel wanted and needed as well. If he feels like he has no purpose in your life, then what is he here for? Like, what can he do for you that you essentially can't do for yourself? So that's a thin line because, like I said, he wants to feel like he can do something, provide, protect, profess, something of that nature. And if you're doing all of that yourself, then what is he here for? What is he there for?
Thank you.
No, that's a really good question that you asked, Tatiana. And I want to answer it a little bit too, in addition to what CEO said. I feel like there's nothing wrong with a woman being confident, with a woman knowing that, she can take care of the bills and you take care of all of the expenses and the things that she needs. To me, I think where it veers off to where it becomes a turnoff or unattractive to many men is when women have to vocalize it. I kind of look at it from the perspective of if we're talking about somebody who has their stuff together, they're wealthy, they have all of these connections and stuff, you don't have to say it. Like people can take notice. Like people know if you got money. People know if you won in the circle with people with big names. You don't have to be name dropping every time you in a conversation with people. You don't have to be like, oh, check out my Rolex and look at my Versace, whatever. Like you ain't got to do all that extra stuff because if people are seeing you consistently wearing these things, driving these things in communication with these types of people, you don't have to say it. So my whole thing is a woman shouldn't have to say, hey, I can pay for this meal. I can pay for my car. I can pay. Like the whole point, you an adult, right? Like it's assumed that clearly you're taking care of your responsibilities. Like, why do you have to broadcast it? Why you have to get up on a soapbox? It's kind of like to me when people be saying like, well, I'll take care of my kids. And then they come across men like, well, you supposed to. It's the same thing. Like, yo, I got my degree and I did it. Well, if you went to college, the expectation is that you would complete it and get your degree. If you are living on your own as a mature adult, it's expected that you're paying your bills, feeding yourself. So like, why do we have to hop on the soapbox and make it like we gotta wave this flag? Like, no, that's kind of expected. So that's the thing that I would say is if a woman is able to do those things, you ain't gotta always say it. Unless somebody is, for lack of a better term, saying that you can't, like that's different. Like if you feel like you want to speak and let somebody know what you can do, that's totally different. But most time you see people saying what they can do and nobody even insinuated that they couldn't or that they were incapable of doing those things. So that's just the 2 cents that I just wanted to add to that personally.
Thank you for sharing, Jay. And that
Yeah.
brought up some questions that probably don't relate to this topic, but I'm gonna write them down. I'm gonna write them down.
Nah, that's all good. That's all good. So, Cherie, what's your take on those voids, right? And those issues that need to be resolved prior to dating? What's your take on that?
Mr. CEO made an excellent point in terms of dating yourself, and Mr. Andre, knowing what you like is important. Um, if, for example, the void of not feeling like I look a certain way because I don't have this and that, those insecurities about what you look like can make you settle. If you look in the mirror and you don't may not feel like a model all the time, but you know that you're worth this and you cannot just throw me anything. For example, I don't believe in going to the movies on a first date. Why are we sitting in silence? I need to know if I want to have a second date. So it's my standards. I've done that already. So I learned from experience that this is not a good idea, learning to do that. And it's a lot of the work has to be done on the inside about what you see and what you would allow, and knowing that, you know what, I'm better than Olive Garden. I could do this. I could do Red Lobster. I could do Ruth Chris. I could do a whole lot of things, knowing where you are. And I think one of the problems is that we don't see enough dating. We go from text to having sex. So there isn't enough of that space to talk. There's like we text or on the app, and then we link up, and that link up includes sex that night. So you don't even have the time to, get to know each other more and all that. So that's definitely a problem.
I hear that. I hear that. Coming over to you, Andre, what's your take? What do you feel like? What voids or issues need to be resolved before women start dating?
One of the first voids that I think that comes to mind whenever I was talking is the things that we hear and understand determines what we actually take from the conversation. Communication is the key. We note that, but communicating effectively is better because in the dating world, how we understand what is being said to us and we process it before we actually make a answer or return a response, it kind of gives us the idea of what we actually heard. Good example. You talked about dating earlier. I can't say this for all women, but a lot of women have what I call pre-questions in their head. Things such as on the first date, what do you do for a living? Where do you work? How long? They got simple questions that they always ask and they're not asking to be nosy in the man's business. They're asking to see if the man is stable. A lot of times when men sit at the table, the woman's fine, she looks good. The first thing comes to his mind is, she looks good and I want to smash. He has no questions to ask. Then you find out 6 months down the road, she can't cook, she can't clean, she can't spell, she just can't. Then you sit back and complain, well, she can't cook, she can't admit. Dude, did you even ask the questions? Could she? We don't ask questions. We sit there and look at the beauty and say, oh, everything's just falling into place. The thing that gets me a lot about, especially with women dating men, one, if you don't know the things that you want in your relationship with someone. Now, a good example for me, I don't smoke or drink. I prefer someone who don't smoke or drink. But if it's casual drinking, I'm good. But smoking is definitely out. So you can be Beyonce, and I think she's fine. But if you're smoking and drinking, we can be friends. You got to go. Because future, I'm dating for a purpose, not for fun. And I tell women, you cannot continue to give boyfriends husband benefits and wonder why they don't want to marry you down the road. Be the man for a second. What is the benefit of me marrying you when I'm getting everything right now for free? Who wants to invest in something that's old when you can get something new? Who wants to sit there and pretend that the person that's in front of me, I think CEO said it earlier, when you talk about people and that give you who they really are when they first meet, here's how you can prevent some of that. You can't definitely knock it all out, but here's some prevention that you can do for yourself, because I talk about it in the book, what I call anti-proofing your relationship. If you ask questions and you get answers to your questions, now you have to sit back and watch the actions, because believe it or not, some men are really stupid to believe that they get a second date with a woman because she likes them. They don't. Women give men a second date based on the way they made them feel on the first date. If they feel good, they get a good vibe for them. I tell them all the time, think of relationships as a job. The woman is the CEO. She's a person in charge. She's a person in charge. We are the potential employees trying to get a job with her. We want a position in her life. Now, what she's trying to figure out from our interviewing in that first day, are we in it full-time, seasonal, or part-time? Now, what happens a lot of times is that women give that part-time guy full-time benefits, and then she gets mad when the dude quit the next week after he get his benefits. Then you wonder, well, he did me wrong. He lied to me. No, he told you it was part-time. He was only in it for a short period of time. Did you not hear him when he spoke? Then I sit back and tell me, I said, well, when you go in, you're going to be wrong. You're not really going to be truthful with this woman. Why waste her energy, time, and love when you know you don't want the same things that she wants. And ladies, please be careful of this phrase here. When you tell a man what you want, if he agrees to everything that you say you want, he wants the same, he is lying to you. This man is telling you more lies than the Bible got scriptures. So I'm telling you to be careful when he's talking to you about this, because again, he's doing what he's supposed to do, because we don't understand when you grow up. There's a criteria when you grow up as a child to an adult. Most women now, I can't say all, but most women, when you grew up, you played with baby dolls. And when you got to a certain age, you start taking care of other kids getting paid for it. So somewhere down the line, when you had your own children, motherhood, second nature to you. You'd knock it out with no problem. Hold the kid in one hand, remote over here, yelling this and doing everything. But for men, what did we grow up on doing? We grew up figuring out how to play games, strategize, and win. So we meet a woman that we want to get with. Our goal, forget your goal. Our goal as men is to strategize and win. And winning is sleeping with you. And you wonder why once he get what he got and he moves on, and you wonder why so many men rather date you than marry you. This is the reason why. You told him point blank, here is the manual to my heart, how to get me in bed. And some men will hear you, but a lot of dumb men won't. They still try to fight the power and go against the whole thing. Although you hand them a roadmap, period, they don't get it. But I tell people all the time, when we sit down and have a conversation with men and women, I'm not here to say women can't think of their own or women don't get it. But when you look up the word independent, I think Tatianah mentioned this earlier, when you look up the word independent, I don't need a man. Let's think about that for a minute. Look up the word. It says to do by myself. You keep telling a man you don't want him, you don't need him. Guess what? You won't have one. Because again, you sat there and told this man point blank, I don't need you. I can do everything by myself. The question then is, what am I here for? What am I here for? Because I tell women, keep in mind, as I tell men, men's needs are in their head. A woman's need is in her heart. When we understand how that works in a relationship, then we can put together, get that negotiating and compromising that we're going to have to do in any relationship if you want it to be successful. No one's going to get 100% of what they want in a relationship, period. So get that lie out your head. I got 10 things, you better do this. It's not going to happen. It's just not going to happen. As soon as you come to your reality in your brain that I have to put in some work, and he does too, because think about it for a second. Has anybody started a job and they gave you your first 2-week paycheck on the first day? You had to work for it, right? You agreed to work for it, put in some time for it, right? So you didn't sit there and say, well, they did me wrong. No, they told you, we're going to pay you in 2, maybe probably 3 weeks. You're going to work today, we get paid later. Well, why did the same concept transfer over to your relationship? And I can tell you why it doesn't. A lot of people, as we mentioned earlier in the broadcast, a lot of people don't want to be alone. They just don't. I don't care what you say, who you're saying it to. They don't want to be alone. They really don't care what they have to do to not be alone. Because the one thing that I told men who have relationships right now, the one thing that a woman that can really turn a woman off is for her to lay beside you in the bed and feel alone. You told that woman when you first got with her, I love you. But did you know what you really said to her when you said it? You told her point blank, I am going to be responsible for you. When you hear and understand what a provider is, according to Ephesians chapter 5 in the Bible, it tells you point blank. Your job as a provider is to take care of everything up under your roof. Now, am I sitting here saying that women should not contribute to the relationship? No. But the majority of this load is being carried because some men out here believe and think that in the relationship, we as men are at the top of the pyramid and they got it all twisted. Do you understand? We're not at the top. We're at the bottom. You want to know why we're at the bottom? Because as it said in the Bible, God created man first. And any construction person that starts with building a house, he don't start with the roof, the windows, or the kitchen. What does he start with? Foundation. God created us to be the foundation of the relationship. And if we don't have our stuff together, she can't be the helpmate to us that she actually is. And believe it or not, women have gifts. Any man that actually can let his woman be her gifts, do the gifts in the relationship, they're going to have a successful relationship. But because some men's ego want to be sure that they put her down and keep her down and don't let her be who she actually is, then you lose respect for one another. Because I'm telling you right now, I don't need a woman in my life that sit around and watch the paint dry. That doesn't do anything to me. I'm out here trying to make the money. She's trying to spend the money. How is that helping us? It's not helping at all. So I always tell people when I talk to them about relationship situations, let's look at it from a perspective and switch places for a second. Switch places for a second. If a man walks in the door from his job right now all day, do you really think as a woman he wants to hear what he didn't take the trash out? Can you give him a chance to breathe, sit down, get his thoughts? Because remember now, coming onto his house is supposed to be his castle, not his prison. This is why so many men sidetrack from coming home from work straight home. They go start hanging with the fellas and sit there and start talking about this, that, the other. And the woman say, why don't you share that with me? I'm your mate. Share it with me. Why? Because you're a dream killer, dude. You're a dream killer. I'm trying to tell you my things I'm trying to do outside of what I'm doing. And what are you doing? You're killing my dreams. I need right now for somebody to at least lie to me and pretend and smile in my face and say, that's a good idea. I want to be an astronaut. Hell, go with it for a minute. I may change my mind next week, but for right now, go with it. It's the same thing with women. Women who come in, who make money, which is great. There are a lot of successful CEOs out there. Women understand this right here when they come home. At your job, you tell people what to do, and you are CEOs. But those same women know how to come home and relinquish that and be the woman in the relationship because her greatest strength is not in her voice. It is in her femininity and understanding her relationship and how things progress with their mate to make everything work out well. So yes, we need to think about things, converse with one another, because no one wants to marry. Why would I want to marry somebody with $1,500, $1,000 in student debt, and I'm going to learn about it till we file taxes? I'm thinking to get back a fat refund. They tell me, no, your refund's being taken back because she owed money. What, babe, why didn't you tell me? See, what? No, the communication. When you get with someone, your bottom line is be prepared. And don't let women fool you and don't let men fool you. When men say, what do you bring to the table? Most women hear finances. When a woman tells a man, I want a man to take care of me, they hear finances. When the man asks a woman the question, what do you bring to the table? What he's really asking them, I'm telling them at the same time, I want to give you the things that you require to be with me. But what am I going to receive from you? What are you going to bring to the relationship that can make it worth my while? When you hear one say, take care of me, men listening, understand it's not about just finances. They want your time and attention. They want your affections. They want you to be able to teach and learn and lead. But those are foreign words to people who don't have any idea what their roles are. And if you don't know what your roles are in a relationship, it's going to be out of order.
A lot of gems you just dropped, Andre. We appreciate you, man. So one thing that I wanted to do before we get into the next question is I wanted to give the floor to Cherie, just to give you the opportunity to share with everybody who's listening about your book and how they can show you some love and support. So by all means, Cherie, if you don't mind, let the people know how they can support you.
Okay. The Abstinence Bible is on my website, sharicemirrorproject.com. I will put that in the chat. I'm on social media, Cherie at Cherie's Mirror. Oh, there it is. Boom, it's there. It's there. We cover a lot of different things, and Andre made a lot of great points. And I was thinking about as he was saying, there was a meme that said, "I dated this guy, I think, for 9 months, and he asked me why I'm single." So it just made a lot of sense to me because sometimes we're dating so too long. Listen, this person had no intention of taking the things to another level. It's like you're dating and you're having sex, and he's not saying, or you're not saying, what is the next step? Are we exclusive? We looking to get married? We don't advance to the next stage. We stay in the dating phase out of thinking that things will change, and it's going with the flow too long. That to me, it has to be a limit. You can't date for 5 years and you're single the whole time. How? I'm not gonna testify. I'm just saying. Yeah. So support me at Cherie's Mirror, Cherie's Mirror Project.com. Get your copy of the Abstinence Bible. Let's see how can we do better. It's doing relationships differently.
Yes, indeed. Y'all definitely go get y'all a copy of the book. The link is in the chat. I just dropped it in there. Y'all can see it on the screen as well. ShariceMirrorProject.com for you to go check it out. It's also in the description on YouTube. So by all means, you can go in the description, open it up in the new tab and check it out. And the other thing that I wanted to share with you guys is I put together something for some of you. You may know that I put together a prayer book that I co-wrote with my mom a couple years ago, and I want to give you guys something for free, which is 7 daily prayers. This is something that any lady who wants to start praying for her future husband, you can go grab you a copy of this. All you got to do is go to righttoreallove.com/pray. You'll be able to get this free PDF absolutely for free. So anybody who's interested in that, definitely wanted to let you guys know about that. You can check that out as well. I'll have a link in the description for you guys to go and check it out. But other than that, I want to come back over to my girl Tatiana. So let's get into today's main point. What would you say are some of those signs that a woman is dating out of lack? What are the signs that we should be looking for?
Okay, I'll share some of the ones that I had written up before. So one of them is dating or entertaining men that you sense are not willing to commit or who aren't emotionally available. So you know they don't want a relationship where they're giving you those signs, but you're still dating them anyway. You're not going on any real dates. It just seems like you're in an endless cycle of non-progressive talking stages, thinking that you're not good enough to date at your desired level because of your current circumstances, like past failures, dwelling on those things, and it's hindering you right now. Maybe you have financial debt. Maybe it's lack of experience in relationships. Maybe it's like your family history of relationships not working out. It could be a number of things that you feel would be holding you back. Also, like self-sabotaging behavior when choosing men that go against what you really want, like we talked about. Like it's kind of like cognitive dissonance, where you're like, I want a man who wants marriage or wants to be married, but I'm dating these non-committal guys. That's kind of like what that is. Self-sabotaging behavior, especially if you know that's what they're on. Attracting men based on your current mindset in your current season of life, not based on where you want to be. And lastly, not believing in God's best for your life. If you're a woman of faith and you honestly don't have that godly confidence that you can have a husband that loves Jesus, that wants to lead you to Christ, that wants to do the things that the Bible says a husband should do for his wife, and you're just like, oh, well, there's no men in the church, so I'm just going to date the men out here or just date anybody or date out of my faith, you are dating out of lack, because you have to consider that there's billions of people out here and you haven't met all of them. So you have to kind of change your perspective out of the lack or poverty mindset and open it up to an abundant mindset.
Good stuff. And shout out to VP818 Stars. We appreciate you for joining us. And they letting us know Sharice's other book, What Are You Bringing to the Table, has tons of gems too. So y'all don't sleep. My girl Sharice is dropping so many gems. Like I'm telling y'all, it's in y'all best interest to check it out. Once again, in case you missed it, here is the link, ShariceMirrorProject.com. It's in the chat. It's in the description. So make sure you guys go and show her some love and support. And with that, coming over to you, Sharice, what are some signs that a woman is dating out of lack?
The quality. You see who they're choosing. Like as your friend, you listen to someone that says, "Oh, I met this guy," and they begin to describe him. You're like, you know, you better than that. Like how not necessarily where he works and how much he makes, but the quality and the excuses. You see, like, wait a minute. You can tell that they're settling when there's a textationship, however you say this word, it's all text. There's no actual picking up the phone. You're you're settling. Um, when it's they're hiding the person. I've met people where they were dating someone, but no one ever meets this person. And I found out a lot of times, maybe not every situation, but a lot of times it's because they're ashamed of the person and they know they could do better. So, and when they're hiding it, they're like, "Oh, just let me have this. Just let me hide this because I just want to be some with somebody." It's they feel that void between I'm at the doctor's office or at the light. I can text somebody. I have someone to talk to. Like Tatiana said, you're bored. It's like I want some kind of connection, some kind of human connection, some kind of intimacy with someone. I've just seen it play out over and over again. Like I said, the timing. I'm close to 30. I'm close to 40. Those signs that you just tell that they're settling. They're not going anywhere. That I don't even hear a lot of people talking about dates. It's more so I met this person, we text, and it's not like we're going to the museum or to the mall or anything. I don't hear a lot of people that are saying I went on a date. It's link up. It's come over my house.
I hear that. Yo, Cherie, you keeping it 100. I ain't mad at that. Coming over to my man, CEO, bro. I know it's been a minute, but we back on over to you, man. We want to know, what are some of the signs that a woman is dating out of lack?
It's basically same thing that the lady said. It's settling. It's knowing that your friends, like if you told your friends this is what you want in a person, but then you describe the present person that you're dating, and you have to go pick him up for a date, or he has this many kids, or baby mama drama, and you're not a person that likes to deal with drama, then your friends are going to check you and say, well, what are you doing? And they'll tell you it seems like you're settling when you don't have to. Like, have you forgotten who you are? And a lot of people forget who they are, all for them being with somebody else. So I mean, that's one way. And for me, like I thought a long time ago, if you take the word settling and break it down into an acronym, settling is sacrificing everything that taught true love in every situation never gives in. And if you remember that, and if you always hold yourself to a certain standard and love yourself first, then loving yourself first eliminates the possibility of you settling for something that you know deep down that you don't deserve.
Excellent. Excellent, CEO. Yes, yes, indeed. Andre, what are some signs that a woman is dating out of lack?
A lot of times, it could be things such as women dating the same kind of man, getting the same kind of results, and not realizing that the problem to this whole situation is you. You don't know what you want. You want the guy to just, yeah, all women want men to marry tomorrow and be the husband, be the perfect person. How is a person going to be that for you when, one, they don't know how you like to be loved? They don't know how you like to be treated. You haven't had that conversation nor a financial conversation to know where you are in your life right now and where you would like to go. You don't have any idea on the same page where you're trying to get to. And when you hear people say settling, we sometimes the words we say, we don't really define what they're actually saying. Settling is not a bad thing if you look at it from the perspective of, if I want uh let's say a teacher, she don't have to have the best, big body, whatever going on, but she is who I want. That's not settling to me. If I get the person that I want, the person that makes me happy, that I'm with, not what a world says I should be with, what the men say, bet you get the woman with this kind of body, that kind of body. I'm not shopping for you. I'm shopping for me. Now, if I want a woman, for me personally, I just throw it out there. I get impressed on intelligence. I love a smart woman. The one thing that I heard the phrase when we were growing up, you probably all heard this phrase, behind every great man is a great woman. Well, in my book, I changed it because I don't need your behind me. I need you beside me, beside every great woman, because I need you to tell me what's on the left. I'm gonna tell you what's on the right, so we can walk forward together. Because if you're behind me and something go wrong, you might run and leave me. But if you're beside me, I know where you are, you know where I am. And if you got a household that's on the same page in that manner, understand that, listen, I know you are the man. I know you are the head of the household, but we may be equal as in people, but we have different functions. When you understand what your functions are in a relationship and your partner understands their functions, and people running around saying Christian men this and I'm a Christian now, I love God. Do we not understand that 50% of America don't believe in God? Do we understand that 9% of that 50% only are the ones that's read the Bible? 41% of people are carrying around the Bible they have not yet to read. Do you understand that by reading the Bible, the thing on relationships is in chapter 5, Ephesians? It tells you the rules from 1 to 23, what it is you should be doing for your part, his part. And when people say, oh, the men say, well, the Bible says women should submit to a man. And yes, it does say that, number 22. It does say it, but above 22 are 21 things that you need to be doing before she does that for you. I would never tell a woman to submit to a man that's not following Christ, being Christ-like. People keep forgetting that if you don't understand and put God first himself in your life and ask God for what you're trying to get to, remember now, when you're ready, not when you want it, but when he feels you're ready, he will present, because God's not into hooking up people, but he will present someone in your life that will give you what it is you need, not what you want, because we think we want a lot of things. We say the word love like it's it's a free thing to do. We love football. We love happy. We love cookies. But that's a different kind of love when you love a person. We have to understand when we tell somebody these things, we have to get the understanding of what it is we're sharing with them. Because when you tell a woman as a man, I got you, and she believes you, she's expecting you to do just that. Not give her excuses that, oh, well, see what happened. My check was short. And see what happened. This happened. They don't want to hear excuses. Excuses are no good to them. Excuses say that you lied. So I tell men, be careful when you're talking to women, and women be careful when you talk to men. Tell me as a man, tell me, woman, what is it that you can do, what you're able to do. Are you willing to learn? You may not know how to cook, but are you willing to learn? If I can show you, I may not know some things, you may teach me some things, but we have to be willing to learn and accept that we do not know everything. We're not perfect in everything. We do need help from time to time in certain things, not monetarily money or things of that nature. Men need someone to believe in them. The most important thing for a relationship with a man and a woman is that the woman believes in the man. She don't have to give him no money. Just believe in him. The Bible tells us that we are to, as men, love our wives like Christ loved the church. But there is no scripture in the Bible says that he tells the woman to love her man. He tells her to reverence him, to respect him. We have to understand our roles. This is where the problems come in. This is why we're going to continue to have problems. And you're going to see more baby mamas and more baby daddies and people saying that we're settling because here you are, a woman with 4 or 5 kids looking for a high volume man. Really? You think a high volume man is going to break down and say, what I need is a woman with a bunch of kids? No. He's saying to himself, I need somebody on the same level that I am that's willing to work up to the same level. Even if you're not there, can you bring each other up? Not bring each other down or bring one person down while the other one elevates above you. So lack of, for most women that listen, but doesn't apply to every woman, but lack of is starting with you first. Get you together first. Sit down and have a strong, serious conversation to yourself and say, what is really going on with me? What do I actually bring to a relationship? Forget the table. What do you bring to a relationship that a man values? Because if you want the kind of man that you dream about, you need to become the man be the kind of woman that man desires. You're not gonna fall in your lap and be perfect. So I tell women to think about it. Think about what you want first before you go out there and try to find it.
Yeah, I hear that. And I
Okay.
appreciate you guys for sharing the signs that a woman is dating out of like. It's important so that people will be able to tap into what are these things. Maybe they can identify some things that they're personally doing and they may not even consider the fact that they're potentially dating out of lack. So I appreciate you guys for dropping those gems. And I want to come back over to my man CEO with our next question, right? Because I think this is important, especially with our mission over here at Right to Real Love, helping women to better understand and interact with men. I want to know, how does a woman who's dating out of lack, how does that impact her interactions and her relationships with men? So I definitely want to start with the male perspective, man. If you encounter, CEO, a woman who doesn't have it all together, she's dating out of a lack, how would that impact your interaction or even your relationship with her?
It depends on the nature of her conversation.
Okay.
If her conversation is always about, oh, I need help with this, or I need help with that, or I need help with this, then I don't look at it as you want to actually build a relationship. You are just at a point in your life where you just want help. And to me there's a difference in just wanting help and in wanting to actually build something with someone. Well, I think a lot of women when they go on dates, one thing that they want to do is they're so eager to talk, but they don't listen. They're more engaged with, well, let me tell you about me, let me tell you about me, as opposed to taking the time to just listen. And then they're looking at the guy and they're like, oh, well, why aren't you saying anything? And his response will be, oh, well, I don't talk much, not realizing he's absorbing everything that you're saying, good or bad. Like if he asks you what happened in your last relationship and you go through this laundry list of things that happened in the relationship, he's sitting back and he's like, okay, well, as long as I don't do that, I'll be all right. Or as long as I don't do this, I'll be okay. When that actually might be a quality of his. Um, when it comes for me, when it comes to a female, I don't expect them to be perfect because I'm not. But at the same time, whereas I don't expect you to be perfect, I do expect you to be progressing to something. Like, what are your goals? Like, if I wasn't sitting in front of you, what goals do you have for yourself? That no matter if you're with a man or if you're without a man, at the end of the day, you are still going to strive to achieve those goals. That's what impresses me. Like what Andre says, intelligence is huge to me. I can go out and find anybody with a bad body. That's like going to find a glass of water. That's easy to do. But finding somebody with some intelligence and some substance, that's rare. That's like trying to go find a diamond in the sand. Like it's almost impossible. So
Let you finish.
like for me, yeah, for me it's what are you looking for? You know, don't sit back and allow me just to do everything because I'm not here to save you. I'm not a savior. We have one. I'm here to lead, you're here to help. Saving, that's not the job description that I filled out for. And that's the way that I look at it. And something that Andre said earlier when it came to Ephesians 5 and 25, like a lot of women will say, oh, I'm a Proverbs 31 woman. And a lot of men will say, oh, I want a Proverbs 31 woman. But then when you check them and say, well, are you an Ephesians 5:25 man? Then they get quiet. And like Andre said, the Bible says that Christ gave his life for the church. And there are a lot of women that will do anything for a man. And in return, there are a lot of men that will only do some things for women.
Mic drop. I hear you right there. Okay, CEO, CEO. Yes, man. Yes. All right. Coming over to you, Cherie.
I was like,
Either from
pick,
what's that?
pick me.
Yeah, yeah. I'm picking you, Cherie. So I don't know. Is there
Tag
something that
me.
you can say in response to what CEO was saying?
Yes, because women also like to hear intelligent conversation, have intelligent conversations for men. There was something that Bishop Jake said on a sermon. He said, "Women have heard men moan, we have not heard them talk." So that's another subject. However, um, we want to hear their thoughts, and sometimes it feels like you're pulling teeth to have a quality conversation, to find out where they are and more to go beyond the surface. So when a lot of women are excited, turned on, or however you want to say it, in terms of hearing a man talk, give their vision, their ideas, and watch it come to life, that becomes exciting. I, for one, was trying to have a panel discussion a few years ago, and I was literally going down my list to find out men that I could put on the panel, and I was like, no, 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 no. Like someone that can have a conversation and the right kind of dialogue with an audience. That was maybe just my circle. I need to stretch some more, but I could not come up with let's say 5 men that I would want to have on the panel to hear them talk. And that was a problem for me. I was like, dang, I got a lot of people on my in my social network, but the conversation, not so much. So I think it goes both ways in terms of wanting to have that intelligent conversation and feeling like a was a nickel in the haystack or something like that. We want, yes, JD Clay, we want intelligent conversation. Yes, it's exciting. We want that. We want a conversation, not a monologue. Yeah,
Right. That's
my two
good. That's
cents.
good. So, in reference to the question, how do you feel that a woman who is dating out of lack, how is her interactions and her relationship with men impacted as a result of that?
You you come with this baggage of replaying what you've experienced, and you take these crumbs and try to make something out of it. Um, that to me is how it forms. You can see what's happening with these crumbs, and it goes on for a long period of time. As I was talking about how some of us will drag things out just to have someone. Yeah, I won't go too much further.
Okay. Okay. Yo, I respect the brevity, and that's real. Yeah. Those crumbs, you had mentioned that earlier. So, yeah. Yeah, it can be a challenge when people start focusing in on the crumbs. So yeah, good point. Good point. So Tatiana, what's your take? Just coming from the woman's perspective, how can a woman who's dating out of lack have her interactions and her relationships with men impacted?
Yeah, she could start, exhibiting people pleasing behaviors, because if she's like willing to just settle for anyone, she may be willing to do anything to keep that person around. There's also potentially codependent behavior where she like makes that person her god, that void filler, where you can't make another human being a void filler for you, because what happens if they leave? And like, we all die. So what happens when they die? You just gonna be out here empty? Like, you have to find something outside of a relationship to fill that void. Relationship with other people. So in those are just a couple ones that come to mind. We end up making people more responsible for our development when we should have done that before we even got in the relationship. And that can be very taxing on someone. I saw that recently on this second season of Love is Blind, but I'm not gonna get into that tonight.
That was
Nah,
good.
nah, that's good. That's good. I appreciate you for sharing that. And to kind of come back and, kind of put the bookend on it, providing another male perspective, Andre, as a man, when you encounter a woman who's dating out of lack, how does that impact your interaction or your relationship with her?
Well, it impacts because if I know from the start what it is that I'm looking for and that I want in a relationship, I will voice this to the person across the table from me. Now, I'm not saying everything I may voice to her, my wants and needs, she will be able to fulfill. I don't want to sit there and tell her that she has to do this and have to do that to be with me. What I will put out there, and I tell men when you're dating, you have to be careful in your wording, how we present things to people, because women listen very intently. They remember things that you said 3 years ago, and they'll bring it up today, and you be like, "What are you talking about? I didn't say that." Yes, you did. But she did. But the problem was when you said it, you didn't mean it. You just said it to fulfill her ears, let her hear something. I tell men all the time when they listen for things, and the women, you can tell me this is not all women, but a lot of women have told me they listen for words that makes a we situation. A lot of men talk in I when they talk in the first date. I this, I got that, I do this, I do that. Never including the person across the table from them saying, what I would like in my life is someone that we can do this and we can do that and we can do this. We're learning from one another. We're building and growing because no one, by the way, just get the myth out the way. You're not going to find your soulmate liking everything that you like. Let's get that out the way because if you did, you would be bored as hell. Think about it. Who wants to date someone just like you? You would get bored. You need new experiences. That's why they say opposites attract, because they bring something you don't have, you can bring something they don't have. This is why it works, because when you find a medium, a middle ground, then it makes sense why it would continue to work and move forward. I know a lot of people would say to themselves, well, I want to find someone just like me, and my soulmate's going to be this and that, and then we're going to fall in love. Another myth. No one falls for anything of a sort of falling in love. You grow in love. When you people say, well, we fell out of love. No, you didn't fall out of love. What happened was, whatever attracted you to them, you stopped being interested in doing in that whole situation with them. So you didn't fall out of anything. You just got tired of the person that you're dealing with. Not because they're bad or mean to you, is it that they don't excite you no more? Those endorphins that you had when you first met them and saw them, you got excited about, couldn't wait to get with them. Those things have worn off because something they've done, said, or did that has made you look at them differently and not the person any longer that you want to spend the rest of your life with. Because I always tell people, I don't want a woman I can just spend some time with. I want someone I can't spend my life without. It makes it much easier for me because I need to know the person across from me is going to bring something that I don't have. I'm expecting her to bring something to the relationship I don't have, that I lack in. Because as CEO said, we are not perfect and no one should claim to be. But you have to understand your flaws. You understand your flaws and who you are, and getting in touch with what and who you are. Then you'll be able to express that. Because one thing that a lot of men don't know how to do, and women get frustrated about it, is express themselves. No one wants to say, you know what, this is, I mean, if I like things, want things, if I tell you, your reaction on your face to tell me if you're either in or you're out, but I'm not going to not say it because it may not be pertinent to the time and what's going on, but it is something that's important to me. Like Jay said earlier, I may not like spaghetti. I'm not going to sit there and agree that I love spaghetti too. I love it too. And then you cook it every night. Be like, damn, uh, what do I do? Uh, Maybe if I give it to the dog or the cat or something, you don't like my spaghetti? It's not that I don't like it. I just don't like a spaghetti, but you said you like what I like. See what happens, see, and there you go down a road you don't want to go down, be simply because you were not honest and upfront with the person in front of you because you were afraid that if they don't agree or like you for who they really see you are, they were going to leave. And if you got that kind of fear that someone's going to leave you, then you don't need to be with them. Period.
I hear that.
Jay.
Wow. Yes.
Another thing that, and I women and I think men, but more so women also need to take into consideration, especially when they're dating out of a lack of need, is the example that it sets for their children. And a lot of women don't look at that, especially with daughters. I mean, a lot of women will be like, oh, I don't want my daughters to see this. I don't want my daughters to see this. But they fail to realize their sons are seeing the same thing. And their sons are saying, okay, well, based off what my mom chose, maybe this is the way that I should treat women when I start dating. And then their daughters are like, well, maybe this is what I should accept because this was the best thing that mom accepted. And they don't see or think about the ramifications of their dating decisions, what they'll have on their children, not only in the present, but also developmental and on into the future as well.
Excellent point. Excellent point. And I think that that's one that doesn't often get talked about because I'll be honest, sometimes when we're having these conversations about dating and relationships, especially dating, we tend to talk more from the perspective of people who don't have children. But there are a lot of people who do have children. And it's vitally important for them to not forget that you're not really dating, for lack of a better term, for one, but now you got to take into consideration, however many children you have, because those interactions that they're seeing, that they're witnessing, they're taking that all in, for better or for worse. And let's be real, it even applies within in marriages, when people are seeing the interactions between their parents, their mother, their father, it all plays a role. So I'm really glad that you brought that out, CEO. Great point.
Can I make
So
a point too?
of course, what's up, Sheree?
So, as you said, I thought about it how women they have this atmosphere they created in their home with their children, and they want help. They want someone to take this child to the little league, and they want that. So that's another reason that women can date out of lack. because they want help, they want support, they want someone to bounce ideas off of, talk things out with about their children, things like that. And I wrote in my book, one of the books I mentioned that children are like wet cement. They're impressionable. They're not watching necessarily what you say, it's more so what you do. So they hear mommy talking about, I need the rent paid and this is how I'm going to do it, or you talking to him, how much money does he have? They're remembering how you talk, what you're saying, what your values are. And when I was promoting the abstinence Bible, there were women that were saying, "Well, I'm 50, I have kids, and you can't tell me nothing." But I learned that they're watching you, no matter how old you are. They're watching you, and you haven't arrived because you're 50. Maybe you need to be abstinent. Sit down somewhere. So I know that it's still critical. It's not just for 12-year-olds and high school students. Maybe you need to take a break because what you're doing is not working. So I know it's just critical um, to realize the environment for, like you said, the sons and the daughters. Sons are saying, well, if I do this, then the woman's going to be happy. If I know heard my mom talk about money, 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 and then, or I can live here, sleep on a couch, and I can not do anything. They're watching what you accept.
I like the way you put that. They're watching what you accept, and that's key.
Amen.
That
Yeah.
right there is key. Yes. So there was a comment that came in from Black Belt. He was saying the men who struggle expressing themselves to women are scared of losing her or just in general soft, in his opinion. Most guys know exactly what they're feeling and thinking. And the reason I wanted to bring this up is because I tend to agree with him. I feel that the majority of men don't really have an issue with expressing themselves. To Belt's point, if a man is struggling to express himself to a woman, this is just me, my own personal opinion. Two things are at play. What Black Belt said, the first thing, which is that they're afraid of losing a woman, which that is a red flag at all if you're able to identify that woman, because it lets you know, kind of going back to what Andre, I believe, said earlier, is when a man is telling you that he's aligned with everything that you're with. He everything that you say, he's in alignment with it. He's not bucking up against anything. There's no misalignment anywhere. He's just trying to get along, go along to get along. And that's that fear of, oh man, if I might lose this woman. So that's the first thing and that I'm in complete agreement with. The second reason that I feel like some men struggle to express themselves is due to the fact that they are not invested in that woman enough to care to invest to that level. And to me, it's just one of those two things. Is either he afraid to lose her or he don't really care about losing her. And that's part of the reason why he doesn't really care about investing in sharing that level of information with him. But I think the majority of men, they don't have a problem expressing themselves at all to women. The question just is, are they willing to express themselves to that level to you? And that's one of the questions that I always pose to women is sometimes it's not a communication with the man. It's just the fact that he doesn't want to have those conversations or invest to that depth with you personally. And that's really what you have to identify. Is it an issue or a struggle with communication across the board with everybody? Or is it just you that issue tends to arise? And then you can come to a conclusion as to whether he's just not willing to invest in you to that degree, or whether or not he's struggling because he don't want to say something that may lead you to walk out the door. So that's just my 2 cents on that. But I thought that was a really good point that Black Belt had brought up. And I'm curious, ladies, do you have any questions with regards to that with men? What's up?
I think okay, so I did have a once upon a time I did have a panel discussion, I think it was in 2014, and the guys were so nervous. I did find somebody. I wanted the part two. I couldn't get the part two, but the guys were so nervous, and I was wondering, like, why are they so? Because what I did was I had a bunch of women in for a talk, and then I had the guys hiding in the building next door, and they came over, and the women were like, okay, what's going on? And the guys sat out. They were so. I'm like, y'all, we got this. We got you. You're good. And I think men are comfortable. They can do the barbershop talk. When it comes to in front of women, some, not all, they may struggle in that area. Maybe it's public speaking. Maybe it wasn't necessarily the audience. It was just public speaking, period. But they struggled. And I was like, okay, I'm gassing up like you're great. You can do it. And I was shocked that some of them were nervous when they said so many things behind the scenes. I thought they would be a good fit, but they were like, "Ugh." I think it's because men do it a lot together, but not necessarily in terms of co-ed.
Yeah, I get what you're saying there. The one caveat that I would say to that that's a little bit different is that That's public speaking. So I feel like that could be a whole nother thing. It may
Okay.
not necessarily be the women that's bringing about that fear, but the fact that now they're openly expressing their opinions in an open forum, like that could be where that fear is
Yeah.
actually stemming from. I think it's a little bit different when we're talking about one-on-one communication, where like you dating somebody or you're in a relationship, you're supposed to be comfortable to the extent where you don't mind opening up and being vulnerable to this person, but now you telling me that you can't. So that's kind of what I was looking at it as, not so much across the board. I think that there are other things at play that can lead people, including men, to struggle with communicating, especially if it's like an open forum or a public speaking event. But we're talking more so like that intimate one-on-one conversation. Like if this is a guy that you've dated, y'all in a whole relationship, and you're still struggling to get him to open up and share things about himself, I feel like that's where you kind of really got to hone in and be like, okay, this ain't a fear of public speaking. This isn't a fear of talking to women, because clearly he was able to hold a conversation well enough to get to the point where you now in a relationship with him. So now you got to ask yourself like, well, what's going on here? And to the point that Black Belt was making, and that I definitely co-sign, is that he's either one, afraid to lose you, or he doesn't care enough about you, or that he's not invested enough to care that if he doesn't make that commitment to communicating with you more, if you walk out the door, he ain't really tripping. Oh well. It's kind of like you get down with his program and you stick around and you deal with it. That's kind of something that he's just kind of passing the buck off on that woman. I'm not saying or advocating for that. I think that it's immature, but I think that it's something that women should be aware of when you're having these conversations and navigating your interactions with men, especially men that you're in relationship with in particular. But really quickly, hold on, where was she? Okay. Miss Pollard, want to say shout out to you. We appreciate you for joining us tonight. Always a pleasure. And I don't know if I shouted Ebony out earlier, but let me go ahead and shout Ebony out. We appreciate you for joining us as well. She says she thinks men are fearful. They really need to be aware of toxic masculinity and work on this. I'll be honest, like similar to what I was saying with regards to Cherie, I don't really think that it's just a blanket fear. Like I think public speaking, all that type of stuff, masculinity, toxic masculinity, whatever you want to call it. Like, I personally don't think that that's the issue here at play. And I think when we label or mislabel these things, that's where you're not able to really address the root issue. You're just looking at a symptom, as they say. And the root issue is the fact that either the man isn't invested in you, or he's overly invested to the point where he's afraid to lose you, and he doesn't want to say something that may lead you to walk out the door. But
Could he
that's
be
just
insecure? Could he be insecure in how and trying to convey what it is that where he sees himself? Could he be insecure about sharing that or about it coming out loud, like saying it out loud? So maybe he isn't afraid of losing you, but just trying to say those things out loud as opposed to with the homies. Could that be a factor?
I think the insecurity will have to do more so with kind of getting to the specifics of what's he struggling to share with you. Now, if like let's say for example, if it has something to do with some trauma that he's experienced, like I think we all can understand why somebody would be apprehensive to talk about that. But if you're asking a man, and this is just an example, if you're asking a man like, "Hey, what's your vision, your purpose in life? What do you see yourself doing?" And he like, like I got my plans, I got these dreams and everything. I'm working it out. That's nothing. Like he's not communicating anything. And if a woman is like, yo, I'm not gonna call him on that, I'm just gonna let him do that. Like he either one doesn't have the plan, or in this case, this brother just ain't got his stuff together. Like, so that's what I'm saying. Like, to your point, I agree with what you're saying, Cherie, but I think it would be more so like the specific. So can you give me like a specific example of something that you think where insecurity would come into play, if you don't mind?
About sharing, like, okay, I have a dream of I want to be a lawyer in 10 years. Um, sharing, being afraid to say that to someone or wanting to say, I want to just do it. I don't want to say what I'm going to do. I'm going to just do it. And what if I don't? I just think about like people that are afraid of failing and may not want to say what they now it's not okay, it's gonna piss me off for sure, but they may have a fear of conveying what it is that they're where they see themselves, where they're going, what their plan is. It is not a good thing, but I don't want to just say that it's a fear of losing someone or not interested, because there could be a middle ground there where they're not even sure how to eh, um, have that dialogue.
If I could
And they have to
add,
feel safe, feel safe. They don't have to say
if
anything.
I
Go
can
ahead, I'm sorry.
add in with you, if I can add in with you, I agree with Jay and the gentleman that was on earlier. Some of the cases, but not all,
Sure.
it could be a situation where they simply just don't know how to. Remember, there is no manual that says this is how you communicate with a woman. And most times, not all men, but most men lead with money to impress women. They don't know the right, valid questions to ask a woman about who she is, what she wants, those kind of things. So it's like they're going to impress. They're going to go with what they know. I have money. I do this. I spend that. I. They don't know how to talk in the conversation of we because they don't know if you're on the same page or not. But it's not a fact of if you're there yet or not. It's a simple fact. Can you express what it is that you want? I don't, you may not like the guy at the end of the night, but can he tell you today when you walk away from that conversation? Can you say I've learned something about this person? Can you say that at all? Can I learned something? Most times you can say no. He looked fine. Yeah, he smelled good. I get all that. What did you learn about him? Do you know how many, does he have kids, married, want to be married? What do you know about this person? Sometimes for most men, since we don't have a manual, and we go to the guys to talk to them about our problems because they agree with us. They don't put us down or go against us. They agree, even if they don't believe it, they're gonna agree with it. But when I tell a woman that I want to change my high paying job to go be a baker because I'm passionate about baking, she looks at me strangely because she's like, are you willing to give up your high paying job to go to do some baking? What do you know about baking? I need support, and I'm not getting that right now from you. I'm not getting you to say, hey, at least you should try it. He may change his mind next week, but right now, tell me in front of me, hey, you should give it a shot. Check it out. Get the facts right and give it a shot. Don't sit there and kill it because, like I said earlier, dream killers. No man wants to talk to a woman that's a dream killer on everything he suggests thinking like she's dream killing. He don't stop talking to her and he shuts down. He is shut down. There is no return because he's not going to come back and tell you anything personal again because he's looking at you like you may use it against me in an argument down the way. I may have told you in confidence that my cousin is a drunk. The first argument we come on with, you say, that's why your cousin is drunk. Well, whoa. I told you that because I was sharing with you and now you using it against me. He's not gonna say I don't want to share with you no more. He's just not gonna do it. And you're gonna notice this because you can walk around and say, "Why you don't talk to me anymore? Why you don't share things with me?" Going, this is the reason why. Do you remember what you said earlier? Talked about me when I told you something personal. You use it against me. But if I use it against you, you want me to apologize and feel bad about it and tell me I was wrong. But what about you? Where's the accountability on your end? I don't need anybody in front of me that's going to fight me. I get enough of that out in the world trying to get my check every day from the job I work on. I need you to come home and talk with me, talk to me, not at me. And that's a lot of times, like I said, it may be a case, but not, I'm not saying it's an excuse, but it may be a case where some men simply that you're dealing with simply don't know how to or what they want or how to express what they want or fear that if they tell you what they want, you might not think it's acceptable in your life because you don't want to settle.
Right.
I
Like,
really appreciate you for hold on 1 minute. Was that
mhm.
you, CEO?
Yeah, it was.
Okay. Yeah, go ahead. I'll put a pin in what I was gonna say. Go ahead.
Like piggyback off of what Andre said. I mean, I agree 100%. Like if you and Andre were my boys, and I came to you and was like, "Well, this is something that I want to do," I know that you all are gonna be like, "Okay, well, hey, go for it," because me discussing it with you is more of a judge-free zone. And like Jay, if hypothetically speaking, you might be like, "Well, what do you think Cherie's gonna say about it?" Man, I can't tell her that. She's gonna say this or she's gonna say that. And that's another reason why a lot of men don't communicate certain things to women because of the fact that they're apprehensive of her response, or they're already prepared for a negative reaction because a lot of times that's what they're already used to from her. So that's, in some cases, that's the reason why some men have difficulties communicating because they already have it made up in their mind based off of past interactions within the relationship. All she's going to do is shoot it down. All she's going to do is judge my decision. She's going to say, "You're too old to do this. You're too old to do that. Why didn't you think about this a long time ago?" And that's why they won't communicate with women or the woman in their relationship as freely as they will with their homeboys or the guys at the barbershop.
And I'm glad that both you and Andre pointed that out, because this is definitely something that I think the women need to hear. And I'm glad that we are here. This is the one thing that I'll say. When I was pointing out those two categories that I was putting the men in, I feel like what you guys are expressing, like the man who he's responding or shutting down or not communicating based on some interaction that he's had in the past with a woman, that is that second category of guy to me, from the perspective of he doesn't feel like he's willing to invest to that depth anymore in this woman or in this relationship. It's just coming in the form of him shutting down. But at the end of the day, he still made a decision that he's not going to invest in this woman. Now, this is the one thing that I'll say, right? I just I know that communication, people struggle with it. I'm not going to ignore that. But at the end of the day, I feel like we are all adults here. And I believe that if we talking about adults that want to be in relationships, it's a difference between not knowing how to communicate, which I don't believe no one doesn't know how to communicate. I just don't. Like, I'm not going to buy into that. I believe that some people don't know how to effectively communicate, which is completely different. Not knowing how to properly say something or effectively communicate your point is completely different from not knowing how to communicate. And this is what I mean. So, if using the example of a man wanting to share something with a woman, but he doesn't know the words to say, in that instance, the honest words to say is, "Hey, I want to answer your question, but I don't know how to properly convey my point at this moment." Like, that's when, if you have a woman that's understanding, well, you can kind of take it piece by piece. Because this is the one thing that I'll say: communication is based on two things, right? Listening is the first thing. So, like we talked about, it's important that the other person is listening to you. So, in the instances that both CEO and Andre share, like if a man has a woman that is kind of like quashing his dreams, the first question I'm gonna ask is, has he ever conveyed that to her in regards to, like, yo, I've shared this with you, and the way that you responded, it's not the type of response that I want to receive from a woman that I'm in a relationship, or a guy, forbid you in a marriage with a woman that you can't properly communicate and get the type of feedback that you want. I think sometimes, if we're being honest, some people get that shade tossed their way. They have a partner who doesn't support them, and they don't properly or effectively communicate that that's an issue for them. And that is not something that I believe can be totally put on the woman. If there was an issue with how she addressed you, how she didn't support you, and you don't communicate that to her, you got to bear the brunt of that. And that goes both ways with men and women. Like, I'm not just gonna put it off on the men, right? I think similarly, women, if there's some way that a man responded based on a question that you asked him and that wasn't the type of response that you wanted, then you have to ask a question or convey your thoughts, your perspective, your feedback on that. So I just said all that to say that I agree with what CEO and Andre are saying. I think that that falls in that category of guy when he's shutting down, that he's just not willing to invest anymore. And as I think we all, if we're being honest, can agree, that's not healthy for the relationship. The moment that happens, you are no longer in a healthy relationship. Because if we talking about dating, maybe the investment levels are a little bit different. But you in a whole relationship with a person that you can't express to yourself when you don't like something that they said, you don't feel supported by them, or you feel like this person isn't adequately answering your questions, you have to get to a point where you can communicate that if you want to maintain a healthy relationship. That's just my 2 cents. So that's just my 2 cents.
I
All right,
just
so let me see what we had in the chat. So Tiffany says, these are some of the factors that Josh and Dojo of Manhood stated as to how women drive good men out of their lives. Yeah, they did talk about that in that exclusive men chat over on the Patreon, if y'all want to check it out. JD says, right, Jay. Ebony says, sorry, I think not wanting to invest in that woman is a cop out. Just say, I don't know how to communicate, but let me try. We will take it like that. Yeah, that's essentially what I just said. Like, I think it's totally a cop out for a man to put the responsibility on the woman and just say, oh man, like, I don't, like, if he don't want to invest, like I said, if he doesn't care, he's not going to do that though. That's the one thing that you got to realize is if he's not invested in you, he doesn't care enough to make sure that he communicates something to you. And that's like one of the examples that I was giving earlier. But Tiffany also says great points. Yeah. So I want to take this time right now to give Andre the floor, man. Definitely let everybody who's tuning in know about you, your YouTube channel, how they can support you and show you some love, bro.
You can support the channel itself, which is again, Why Does Love Hurt So Good? You can go to YouTube and you can put in the title or put my name in and my picture will pop up and you can check out the videos. You definitely will get a different perspective of what you may think. I can tell you right now, it's not going to be what you think it's going to be. I'm going to come in a different way. I do the same thing on my podcast. Have a lot of supporters that come on the podcast. We talk about relationship situations in depth because in the videos, they're probably like 12 minutes or less. But on the podcast, I get a little time to go into deeper conversations and deeper things that we actually hear. And the same thing that I do in my book. So I'm all over social media. If you put my name in anywhere, you'll see everything that I do from blogs to books to radio to music to everything else. I do a lot of different things with different people. And I'm not afraid to pretty much, open my mouth and share what is going on because in my field and things that I do on the regular, I need to be able to communicate effectively what I'm looking for, what I want, and what needs to be done. Because if I do not, this applies to business and personal, if I do not communicate effectively to what's going on and what I need done, it will not get done. So I don't want to waste time telling a woman, I'm going to buy you a mansion. I know good and damn well I can't afford one. Why would I tell that lie? Because you're going to ask me at some point in the relationship, where's that mansion you promised me? And now I got to lie some more. Because my mother told me some advice when I was 17 in high school that still stands true to this day. She said, if you meet a woman that you like, tell her the truth right now. Tell her where you are in your life. Let her make a decision if she wants to roll along with it or not. Because if you lie to her about something simple and she catch you, she's going to assume that everything you told her prior in a relationship from I love you to I want to be with you, I want to grow with you, is a lie. And you back to where you started from on that merry-go-round trying to get off and get someone to put you in their life full time. So definitely get a chance to put my name in the search column. Check me out. My podcast is on all available social media platforms. And like I said, I enjoy conversations like this because it gives perspectives from both men and women that can get a view that people don't really understand or get. So I appreciate Jay having this, and I appreciate being on here. And I hope that everybody get a chance to check it out. And some late people that's on here today, if you'd like to be on the podcast with me and talk about some other things, trust me, you're going to have some fun. We're going to laugh and crack up throughout the whole progress because it's fun to put things on the table in perspective so that everybody can see it clear. Because women always say, why don't you tell me the truth and let me make up my mind if I want to deal with it or not? So let's just give it to them what they asked for and be done with it.
Nah, that's good. We appreciate you so much. I have a link in the chat that I just dropped to Andre's channel. It's also in the description on YouTube. So if you're watching, just open up a new browser, hit that subscribe button and show him some love. Now, coming over to my man, Mr. CEO Status, definitely let the people know how they can support you, how they can show you some love and support, man, as well.
Well, like I mentioned earlier, I'm on Instagram, same name, Mr. CEO Status. I'm trying to get my feet wet in the whole TikTok thing. So I'm still working on that. I'm not doing the dances and stuff yet. So Instagram primarily and TikTok, and then whenever you live, if I'm not busy, I'll be here rocking 100%.
I definitely appreciate that, bro. And you definitely have an open invitation to come back on whenever you like, man. It'll be an honor. So as we get ready to close things out, there's one question that I wanted to put up on here. Let's see. Which one is it? Did I put it up? Oh, hold on. Oh, maybe. Oh, okay. Okay, here it goes. Here it is, right here. Do you think dating out of lack leads some women to engage in serial dating? Like, I got to give a huge shout out to my girl Tanisha for bringing this up, because I hadn't even thought about the concept of serial dating and how that may be actually linked to a woman dating out of lack. So I definitely want to hear what the panel has to say about this. So since Cherie seems to be in thought, I'm not going to come to you first. I'm gonna let you get those thoughts together by all means. So let's start with my man CEO. Man, what's your take on this one, bro? Do you feel like a woman can be led to serial date because of the lack that she has in her life?
Yes, straightforwardly, yes. I believe that she can. I believe that if she feels like she can't find everything that she wants in one person, she will find it in multiple people. So she'll have the person that, hey, if she's in a bind, this person will help pay my bills. This person will help fix my car. This person will intervene and talk to my son. Like, she'll have, it's almost like building the perfect man. So if she can't find her perfect man all in one, then she'll just take a little bit here, there, and somewhere else. And then you also have to realize some women, which kind of goes down the road of the side chick, they'll be a serial dater and be cool with not being the primary person because they don't have to worry about the responsibility that comes with being the primary person.
All right. Yeah, well, I hear that. Coming up to you, Tatiana, what's your take when it comes to, a woman dating out of lack? Could it potentially lead her to serial date?
All right, can y'all help me out, like, and clarify what serial dating is again before I answer?
Oh, okay. Okay. So who wanna enlighten Tatiana?
Well, I'll pitch it out there. Serial dating, in my opinion, is someone who has not found one person and will continue to repeat the process, hoping that she's going to find that right person at some point. But at the same time, she, in the quote unquote, is becoming herself. She putting herself out there in the wrong manner to a lot of men, trying to find somebody. So she's not finding one person; she's finding many people to sleep with, be with, and hang out with, hoping to find that one. They always say.
That
So
right
it's,
there. Like he did a great job of surmising that.
so is it like multi-dating, or you're
Oh yeah, oh yeah.
dating one
She's
person?
never dating less than 2 to 3 people.
Oh,
Like, she's
oh,
dating
okay.
multiple people at the same time. Like CEO was saying, they all fulfill a very specific need. And she's not ever going to be like, yo, I just have this one guy that I'm dating. Like, nah, she's always dating multiple people.
Oh, okay. Because I thought serial dating, like you're dating like one person back to back, no breaks, now giving yourself a chance to be single and reevaluate what you learned from the last relationship. That's what I defined it as. But I hear what you guys are saying. Yeah, I think you can do that because you're just trying to put all these pieces together. Like CEO said, try to build a perfect guy for you when that's not possible for so many reasons. But yeah, I agree with what you all said. Thank you for clarifying for me.
Yeah, no problem. So, Cherie, what's your take on the serial dating aspect? Do you feel like women who date out of lack can begin engaging in that practice? Oh, hold on, you muted, Cherie. Let's see. All right, there you go.
Okay. I think the lack could also be on the inside. So when you're dating out of lack, not necessarily the dating pool, but when you're lacking some inside, when you have baggage, you have issues, you can serial date because you're like, oh, you say yourself, I don't want anything more than what this is. This is, Pookie does the rent, somebody cut the grass, he goes to the football game. This is all I need right here because I don't want to commit, I don't want to take that risk of um, being with someone again, but I can do this dating thing with different people. Yes.
Nah, good stuff, good stuff. And Andre, what's your take as a man with regards to women dating out of lack? Could it lead them to get involved in serial dating?
It can, and more likely it will. And it will put them in a situation that they don't understand that is different from men and women. Men can date multiple women and be praised for doing so. Women who date multiple men can be viewed as a different kind of person. And I always tell women, understand something. No man wants to pay full price for used goods. So I keep telling myself, don't spread it out and give boyfriends husband benefits, trying to fill a simple need. Sit back and think for a second before you start putting yourself out there like that, because some women believe that their greatest asset is their body, and that's not true, not from my opinion. But a lot of women feel that, so they use their body to get these so-called men and get in relationships and think because they're in one with that guy, the sex is the best thing since sliced bread, and it's not. They keep forgetting that it's not exclusive just to them. Other women have the same thing that you got, and they fail to understand that concept. But then it also, that serial dating leads into things where you see those kind of women who've done it for a long period of time, they become baby mamas, have 4 or 5 different kids by 3 or 4 different men. So when a new man walks up, he has to keep in mind and assess the situation. Okay, she got 3 or 4 baby daddies, bunch of different kids. I like her, and I don't mind taking care of the kids, but damn, I got to deal with 3 or 4 baby daddies. Uh, and I tell men all the time, don't think because you give your child a present that is the same thing as being a father in their life, because it's more than just giving them a present. You need to be present in their life, because men need may take care of the kids themselves as far as everything that they're dealing with, because some women would have those multiple kids and find it very difficult to find that next man, especially at a certain age in your life. Once you reach 35 and up, it becomes super difficult to find a man who want to take kids that's under 18. Because I've heard women say point blank, I don't want to date no man that has kids under 17. Well, men don't want to date women who got kids all under 10. You got like 5 kids under 10, and I'm like, I love you, but hell, that's 5 miles of kids. You, me, hell, we got too many people to be feeding. I can be feeding myself. It's a lot of responsibility, because when you become that parent in the relationship to those kids because you love the woman that you're with, and I tell men all the time, remember now, at a certain age, you got to adjust your thinking, because you're going to meet women that have kids. What you're going to do? You got to deal with it. It's a package deal. They're not going back where they came from. They're here to stay. So think of it that way and say, you know what? How do I adjust it? Because you're not going to be first in their lives, because the kids are going to always be first, but you can be a part of their life, and she can treat you accordingly. So I tell you, yeah, don't let that lead certain things into that, leading to the point where you just can't have any relationships sustainable.
Yo, that's real. As Tiffany says, Andre is keeping it real. And yeah, you definitely doing that, bro. So as we get ready to close out, I got one last question that I love you guys to kind of mix with your closing thought, which is, if women are listening right now or listening to the replay who may be struggling with dating out of lack, what are some words of wisdom that you would give her to, kind of correct that situation so that she can approach dating and her interactions and relationships with men in correct manner? So let's start with ladies first. Cherie, it's been such a pleasure and an honor having you joining us tonight on the show, and would love to just get your closing words and your thoughts and any words of wisdom that you would share with any women who are dating out of lack. Hold on. You muted. Hold on, you gotta unmute yourself.
I keep
All right,
forgetting.
there we go.
Okay, Jay, Tatiana, I'm so glad that I was able to join you all, and Mr. CEO, Mr. Andre. I thank God that I'm able to collaborate together with you all. One thing I know for sure is that relationships start in the mirror, not in the sheets. So we have to make sure that we do our work. And we can only be our own therapist for so long. We have to do, I believe in Jesus in therapy. I believe getting someone to outside of your circle, even to help you do your work, help you deal with your issues. Because a lot of times we say we want someone to be this, and yet this, but our issues are holding us back from the quality that we deserve. So go forth, be great. I hope to connect with you on social media at Cherie's Mirror. The Absence Bible is on my website, it's on Amazon. Um, go be great.
Yes, indeed. And I'm going to drop that link again in the chat shortly. Once again, you guys, the link to Cherie's amazing book is in the description on YouTube as well, so you guys can check it out. So, Andre, coming over to you, man. Any last or closing words that you like to share? Any words of wisdom to the women who may be dating out of lack?
If you're a woman that is dating out of lack, you go back and start from the beginning, because we've all mentioned it in some form or another throughout the broadcast. Go back to the table, sit down, look in the mirror, define what it is that you want with someone. Don't just rush into something because someone else got a boyfriend or whatever going on. You got to have one too. Sit back, think about what it is that you want. And I promise you, if you believe in God, when he feels that you're ready, he will give you someone that is worthy of sharing your love with you. But understand this here as I go. Not all love is good love that we receive from people that we get it from. You just got to keep that in mind, because just because they say they love you, they can't wait for you. They don't want to. They don't need to be with you.
I hear that. Yo, and definitely once again, let them know about your channel, how they can support you on YouTube before you wrap up.
You definitely go to YouTube. Put in my channel, Why Does Love Hurt So Good? Check my podcast out as well, because again, I would love to hear from you and get your thoughts, because I don't know everything. I read a lot, I listen, I learn, and I'm always learning from people every day. So from my Facebook page, from everything else, you can find me, everything that I do, starting with the channel itself, which is Why Does Love Hurt So Good? The book is called Why Does Love Hurt So Good? The podcast is called Why Does Love Hurt So Good? Keep it kind of simple for people to find it. Make it easy for them to get into the whole thing. And definitely share your thoughts and opinions with me, because trust me, one day I could have you on the show and I could be on yours, and we can continue to promote this kind of energy that we're sharing from a perspective of men and women to the world, because it's important that we understand and share to those in certain age brackets from 18 to and on up, that you don't have to sit back and take the first guy to come to you, take the first woman to come to you, or buy her things to keep her, or sleep with him to keep him. You can sit back and say, you know what, I want something more for myself. The moment you say I want more for myself and stick to that, set your standards and expectations, and don't wait from them, then someone will step up to you and for real and be for real with you throughout the whole process. So definitely keep your guard up and protect yourself.
I like that. Thank you for sharing that, Andre. And CEO, any last or closing words to any women out there who may be dating out of lack?
My closing words or advice would be to start off by esteeming of self, which is the reason why they call it self-esteem. Once you esteem self, then you won't settle or be desperate for anything else.
Oh, I hear that. Yo, brevity in play again. I love it. Yo, keep it short and sweet. And I also have dropped CEO's Instagram in the chat for you guys to check it out if you want to go and follow him and show him some love and support. And Tatiana, what are your closing words? And definitely let everybody know about your amazing custom frames as well.
Oh, thanks, Jay. So, one of the things I was going to share with the ladies is, in your process of getting out of the state of lack in your dating and relationships, is to get a hobby. And so I have one. I like to do crafting. I like to do that, and now I have monetized one aspect of crafting, and I make fabric cover photo frames. So in my single season or unmarried season, I've been able to, generate some income for myself. Do something with your life. This is just one example. Like, our sister Cherie has come out with a book, you know what I'm saying? Like, do something productive. And so I like to express my creativity, and this is one of the ways that I like to do it. It's on Etsy. You can check it out at Notes by Tatiana. I do custom frames, and we also have stuff that's in inventory. A couple other points I would make would be just, like, I agree with what everyone said here, and I appreciate you all guys for being on our panel today. Is to reaffirm your identity, especially for the women of faith who are listening. Get your identity affirmed in Christ, who you are as God's daughter, as his creation, as his masterpiece, and just really take some time to build your foundation all over again on your identity, so you won't be confused as to what you deserve and what you should look out for in a partner. And just have that self-awareness of your flaws, of your strong points, of the things that you need to work on. Like you all said, we're not going to be perfect, but we can progress. And that's the beautiful thing. Progress is sexy. That means you are willing to do the work. And that willingness to do the work is what's needed to build a successful relationship between a man and a woman. So those would be the few points that I had to share to close out. So we definitely hope that you can get something from this if you felt like at some point that you've been dating in lack, or if you currently are.
Wonderful, wonderful, Tatiana. And definitely make sure you guys support her. She does amazing work. I've definitely had some frames done, and shout out to Tatiana for that. The link is in the chat. It's also in the description for you guys to go over and get you some custom frames as well. But with that being said, you guys, before we wrap up, I did have some questions over here, mainly from my man Black Belt, and he dropped some good ones, and I would love to get into them, but I want to be respectful of the time for all of my guests and everybody on the panel. Do you guys want to go through some of Black Belt's questions with me, or does anybody have to leave early? Just let me know and we'll proceed accordingly. All right, Andre says he's good to go. Tatiana's good to go. Cherie, CEO, what about you guys? Hold on, I think you're muted, Cherie. Let's see. Yeah, Cherie, hold on. Okay, there we
Yeah,
go.
I'm gonna let you all, you great people, take it away.
No
Uh,
problem. Yo, I appreciate you again, Cherie, for joining us on this show. Once again, you guys make sure you go support her, grab a copy of her amazing book. I got my copy right here, The Abstinence Bible. So definitely make sure you guys go and show Cherie some love. I'll be in contact with you, Cherie, this week. So definitely look out for that. But thank you again for joining us. I truly appreciate it. And I
thank
hope you
you,
have
thank
a very blessed evening. Thank you so much for that,
you too.
Cherie.
How do you?
Talk to you later. So you guys, yo, my man Black Belt, as y'all know, he hits us with these really great questions. I'm gonna start with some of these comments based on some of the stuff that we were recently talking about. So he was talking about like that whole communication thing with men being apprehensive whether or not they can or cannot communicate. So the first comment that he had was this one. He said many guys are nervous because they don't want to lose out on potential sex options. I hate to say it, but that's the truth. Most are afraid to say something that'll cost them an opportunity. And then he also went on to say, public speaking is different, but grown men should not be having meltdowns over public speaking, barring some psychological diagnosis. And then one last comment from him was, I think if he don't want to invest by communicating himself, he's just here for some booty and is bouncing once he gets tired. So by all means, I want to hear what the other men on the panel have to say in reference to the things that Black Belt share. What's your take on it, CEO, just in general?
Well, that last one, I wouldn't necessarily say that it's just in getting some behind, because there's some men that will play the role per se, um, just to have a place to lay their head. There are a lot of men that'll go through the motions just to keep from being homeless. So, and that I've heard plenty of my female friends that have gone through that. As far as the public speaking is concerned, I mean, that's give or take. I know a lot of men that don't like having all of the attention on themselves. So that is also like maybe a self-confidence thing that they have to deal with and get over. But as far as behind closed doors communicating, I've I've never seen someone have a hard time saying something when they're upset. So if they take that same type of energy to communicate something that would make the relationship as a whole better, then yeah, I think they should take the time to do so. And but if they're not willing to do so, then they no longer care. They mentally they've checked out, but they're still there physically.
All right. And what's your take on it, Andre?
I think men, if you're going to communicate, and I think one of the major problems we have with that is that most men don't have anything to say. They just don't know what to say or have anything to say. So communicating, regardless of what they may say to you, they don't have anything to say of value. So they don't really know how to communicate in an open conversation, because women have you. I've found it talking to women that they are women who want details. Men want highlights in the conversation. We just want to know who won the game last night. I don't want to care about what uniform, what kind of tennis shoes, who won. Women want to know who was there, who did you see there, what was the score. They want to know details. And in that understanding and communicating, we have to understand our love language and how we talk and how in our relationships, because it's different for everyone. There's no one answer that fits all relationship situations. It's how you deal with your own communicating with your partner. And effectively communicating is key to anything that you're doing. But understanding your partner from the beginning, from a conversation you had in the beginning, what your goals and what you're trying to do and your vision, your plans, and everything are down the road, it makes it easier to share something with someone if you know that the person is willing to listen. Whether they agree or disagree, they're willing to listen. If you can do that, then you can struggle through how they communicate it if you can understand what they're trying to get to.
Excellent point. Tatiana, as a woman, what's your take on some of the perspectives and things that Black Belt was sharing?
Yeah, I think it reminded me of like how the how it's so valuable to build a friendship with someone that you're establishing a relationship with, because it kind of takes that pressure off of trying to impress that person in a way. If you start off with getting to know them as a friend, maybe you'll be more open to share certain things that you might have not when you were just trying to date them or pursue them. And if it crosses over into that relationship standpoint, you've already known those things about that person. Or there was another point I wanted to make. Dang, I forgot.
Yo, it'll come back.
Yeah.
It'll definitely come back. Yo, and once it comes back, just let me know, and I'll let you chime in and share it for sure.
Hmm.
So let's go to one of Black Belt's first questions that he asked. So it kind of goes back to the top of our show. He was saying, is it a good idea for society to encourage women that it's okay to be alone long term? I don't know many people, male or female, who seem satisfied in life when alone long term. So um, let's come back actually to you, Tatiana. Like, as a woman, how do you feel when some people are seemingly encouraging women to embrace long term aloneness?
Like long term singleness, or
Yeah, I guess that's the way it would be. Yeah, because I mean, if you alone, I would assume that you ain't got nobody. At least that's my assumption.
yeah, I mean, you can look at it from different angles as to why that person would be alone. It's a choice at the end of the day. I mean, society can tell you a million different things. It's up to you, the individual, to choose to be alone or not. Either you're going to go find someone, you could just find someone just to fill that void, like we've been talking about. Or if you have come to some self awareness and you're like, what I'm doing is not getting me the results that I want. And so I'm going to have to go through steps A through whatever to get to that result. So if that requires you to be alone for some time, I think that's okay, because you know that you're not ready yet. I think a level of readiness or awareness of your readiness should be considered if you don't want to be alone, quote unquote, anymore. Um, I think that sometimes society encourages men to be alone too, because of different reasons. But I wouldn't. I wouldn't just encourage women just to be single long term, especially if that's all you're going to do is just be alone. Like, be active in your waiting for whatever that is. Some people are not going to get married, and that's okay. That is perfectly fine. But a lot of women do. So if that's something that you want to do, make sure that you're looking within, that you're doing reflection, you're doing preparation for what it is that you really want out of life. Like Andre was saying, know what you want. Sometimes you're not ready for that at that time. You just need to put yourself in a position to get ready for that by faith. Even if you don't see, like, there are no options out here, I'm just going to take whatever. No, take a season to be alone and work on yourself to have the attributes that you want your husband to want in you, or to be that partner that you want to be to your ideal partner.
I hear that. Thank you so much for sharing the woman's perspective on that. CEO, what's your take on it with regards to women or even men being encouraged by society to be alone long term?
I mean, I agree wholeheartedly that take a season to work on yourself. Whatever it is that you want to work on internally, from a um, social standpoint or as far as a career standpoint. And a season doesn't necessarily have to be 3 months. Like the season can be longer than that. Especially if there's a lot of work that has to be done, then you can't really put an expiration date on the season, because seasons things happen within a season. Things change within a season. So as you grow and as you evolve and you progress within that season, you might see other areas or uncover other areas that need to be worked on as well, to still help you meet your ultimate goal of being ready and being the right partner for when you and your right partner actually cross paths.
Nah, that's good. That's good. So one last question before we get out of here, and that one also came from Black Belt. I'm bringing it over to you, Andre. It was when we were talking earlier about like husband benefits, and he was curious to know what are husband benefits. So from the male perspective, what would you identify them as?
The first one that's more important to most men is sex. If the woman that's dating him, trying to get to know him, feels that she had to get to know him sexually first before anything else, then there's nothing pretty much left for her to have. So, like I said earlier, some women, but not all, feel that all they really have to offer to a man is their body. So the benefit for a man is that one, he can walk away as a boyfriend from the relationship with no legal repercussions here of what he has to do and can and cannot do. You can walk away from a relationship tomorrow, but you can't walk away from a marriage tomorrow. You can't just drop that and say, oh, I'm done with him, boy, let me just leave, because you have responsibilities. And I don't know if you guys know it or not, but in today's society, the men that are with women in some states, but not all as of yet, but it's coming. A lot of these states are telling men that if you are in a household with a woman that has kids that may not be yours, and you stay with them for a certain period of time and you were to leave, you can be taken to court and put on child support, even though they're not your children, because you took the role in the relationship to get it. So the benefits is all the things that you can get her paying half the bills, getting free in-house sex with her while you go do whatever you do outside the house home, knowing she's not going to go there. And the moment that man realizes that the woman loves him more than he loves her, he's going to take full advantage of it and do whatever, because this is what he's going to know. No matter what I do, she ain't going nowhere. And she's going to say it in word by responding to saying this. If you do it to me one more time, I'm going to leave. What you really just said, translating, is this: go ahead and do what you want to. I ain't going nowhere. Because they heard the same thing I heard. It's how we look at our agendas. There are several agendas in a relationship going on at one time. So I definitely tell women to be careful of the agenda. You have one, he has one. If you guys haven't talked this out to where the woman feels comfortable being with that person and watching the person's actions, not his words. I can tell you anything, but let me show you the actions by actually doing it, and things come, right in your face, and you see everything point blank. Then she can start believing a little bit more. But it's a definitely benefit for the guy to not be married and get everything from the woman than to be married with her.
All right, all right. So really quickly, somebody that we ain't seen in a minute, PK Chronicle. Shout out to you. So glad that you could join us tonight. Good to have you in the building. So going back to that question about husband benefits, anything that either CEO or Tatiana you like to add, or do you feel like Andre kind of put a bow on top of that?
I think Andre put a bow on top of it, and it still ties back to that dating or operating out of lack, because the woman will feel like she'll accept stuff that she normally wouldn't, especially if it's a situation where, let's say, she has kids. She might feel like, you know what, if I let this guy go, nobody else is going to come in here and take care of me and these kids. So she'll settle for what it is that he's doing, no matter how much it breaks her heart, no matter how much it makes her cry at night. She'll accept that out of the fear of having absolutely nothing.
Oh, I hear that. Tatiana, any closing words with regards to what are husband benefits?
Yeah, I think in an ideal situation, because there's always caveats to this, I think like husband benefits would be to have a partner that you can build a legacy with, who can bear your children, and you all have shared DNA. There's no confusion there. There's a loyalty, there's honor, there's respect that you can get from this person. Ideally, this is a healthy marital relationship, and this is someone who's mature and understands their position, their role as a wife. So you may not get that trying to just date out of lack as a man. Ideally, you want that in your marriage. So I would say that those would be benefits. Yeah.
All right, we'll appreciate that. And then we had some comments come in. So JD Clay was saying, be careful of the agenda. Tiffany was saying, these topics are truly fire. And JD is confirming it, right? And then my man Black Belt with one last comment. He says, I don't know, y'all. There may not be a large number of men, let alone quality men, waiting until marriage for sex, especially if she's not a virgin. And I'll be honest, I can't speak for everybody on the panel, but I tend to agree with Black Belt. I think that if we were to look at it just by numbers, the majority of men are not waiting until marriage to have sex. And that is definitely something that, especially when having conversations, speaking to women who watch this channel, women of faith, I communicate that point. Like, you are looking for men that already fit within the minority. And I know Cherie was mentioning earlier about, the dating pool, all of those things come into play. These are the things that you have to take into consideration, is that ideally, as a woman of faith, especially, if you identify as a Christian, you're looking for a man who's waiting until marriage to have sex. But let's be honest, that's not the majority of men. And I've said it on multiple occasions, even within the religion of Christianity, that's still not the majority of men. Just because somebody wears the label Christian or whatever the case may be, doesn't mean that he's not still engaging in sex before marriage. So I'm in agreement with Black Belt. I think that women need to be equipped to understand that you may have that standard, you may have that desire. And yes, there are men out there that are also waiting until marriage to have sex, but know that that is the minority. That is not the majority. And you have to approach dating, relationships, and your interactions in men with that understanding. So I appreciate Dojo for sharing that, as always, man.
Can I add
So
to what
yeah,
you just said? Can I add something
yes,
that
of
you said?
course. Yes.
You're right. The majority may not want to wait, but here's what you need to keep in mind from a woman's perspective. She don't need to lower her standards because they don't want to wait. If they don't want to wait, they don't need to be with her. She can wait for the right man, because there are some men who want to wait. Because I've always said from the day that I first started talking about relationships, I personally want love and sex at the same time with one person. I don't need them separated. I like to have them together at one time. So if I have to wait for that right woman, mindset woman, to be in the same align with me, in alignment, equally yoked, as the Bible said, then I personally would wait. I'm not going to jeopardize. I would tell no woman to, lower your standards because no man's going to wait. There's a lot of men don't want to wait. That's not her problem. That's their problem. They want to be with her, then they have to wait for her or move on. They don't have to sit there and, lower the standards. Although it is reality, is that there are a lot of men who don't want to wait. And yes, regardless of what we say tonight, people are going to still have sex regardless before marriage. I get that. But as a person on the other side that's sitting there saying to yourself, do I have to lower myself to sleeping with Tom, Dick, and Harry just to be in a relationship? No, you don't. You can wait. You can wait for the right person, because I told you earlier, when God feels that you are ready mentally, spiritually, and physically for the right person, he will present someone in your life that is worthy of having your love. And then when you two interact, it'd be so easy, like your old friends, like you've been knowing each other for 30 years and you just met yesterday, because it's not a forced situation. It is something that is natural. It's not demanding, it's natural. You get a chance to learn one another, understand values, have some kind of standards and expectations, and moving forward. Because if you're just dating just for sex, then hell, just go pay somebody and get it over with. Just pay somebody and get it over with and be done with it. Move on to something else. But don't waste. I wouldn't tell men to not waste. If you're not ready, it's okay. It's okay. If you want to do it before sex, it's okay. But don't try to force the person in front of you to come down to your standards. When women themselves are finding themselves dating out of lack, dating for the simple fact that they may want somebody, don't want to be alone. I'd rather be alone and peaceful than to deal with drama just to be with somebody. Because I'd rather have peace. I
Right.
value peace. I
Yeah.
don't need
Pieces.
drama just to be with somebody else. I'd rather have that. So, like you said, I agree with you, Jay.
Yeah.
There are a lot of men who may not want to do wait or whatever, and that's fine. Let them do them. But for the women listening right now, don't devalue yourself and come down to their level because you're just so lonely and desperate that you got to be with somebody. Wait. Whatever it is you want to enjoy today will be there tomorrow. Wait for the person that you actually want to give it to.
I appreciate that. Let me say something real quick, Tatiana, and then I'm gonna come right over to you. I totally understand what you're saying, Andre. But I would say this, like, it's not so much about like waiting or somebody not lowering their standards. Like, that's not what it's about. What I'm saying is that waiting for a person that doesn't want to wait or wants to meet this person, and they're trying to figure out why is it taking so long, if they still have this mindset that the majority of men are fitting the criteria that they want and meeting their standard, that's not practical to think that you're not going to have to wait for an extended period of time. You're going to have to wait longer than
I agree.
women or other men that are engaging in sex. So I agree with you. If a person is okay with waiting, no problem, not a problem. They accept that on themselves. But it's when a person is saying, hey, I'm willing to wait, and I expect that any man, or if it's a woman, any woman to have this same standard. That's just not the case when we look at things practically, logically, and realistically. And those are the three things that I always try to point out. And there was a comment from Black Belt that kind of that into perspective, what I was saying as well, which is it's not about lowering her standards. She's not going to meet every single man. It's about being realistic and not telling someone to wait until they come and there's a real chance that it'll be never. So the one thing that I would just say to this is that you have to be mindful of the fact that if you're waiting, it may be longer than you want to wait. And as long as you have accepted that, I think that that's totally fine. But I just wanted to point out that it's not about lowering her standards, but for women to be mindful of the fact that the majority of men are not waiting until marriage to have sex. And you just need to be aware of that when you are
Which is
engaged
true.
in the dating
Which is
process.
true. They're
Yeah,
not waiting, but if they don't want, if you want to wait and they don't, you don't need to change your
right.
mindset to theirs. Just
Exactly. And that's
don't
what I'm
have to
saying.
do it.
That's the point though. That's the point that I'm making, Andre, is that it's not about her or the guy forcing the other person to get in line with what they're doing. Those two people are not in alignment. So if we got two people dating, a woman that says that she's waiting and a man that says that he's not, it should be as simple as, hey, I'm waiting to have sex. I'm not. Boom. They part ways. Like
Exactly.
no drum. That's what I'm saying.
But
So
the
it's only
dating out
when
of
people
lack
try
that
to
you mentioned, though,
force.
but the
Mhm.
dating out of lack that you mentioned is some women are not that strong as of yet to accept what you just said as their reality. They may not. They may say, "Well, I want to wait, but I'm afraid if I wait and miss up on this guy, another guy may not come along." And that's not true. That's just how you think at that moment because of peer pressure in the world around you. So take your time, get what you want because you can.
Yeah. And in that regard, that goes back to what we've been talking about all night. That person doesn't need to be dating. Because if you are not at
Right.
a place where you can convey what your standard is and not be swayed, you don't need to be dating. Like you
Exactly.
need to, like the same way we talked about, you need to be able to communicate properly. You need to be strong enough, whatever your position is, to hold the line. So yeah, I'm in complete agreement with you. Tatiana, I apologize. Please share your perspective.
Okay, I was going to say that I agree with both of you all. I mean, both could be right, in this situation because, like, the reality that not a lot of men are waiting to have sex till marriage can steer someone's perspective into a scarcity mindset where they do end up dating out of lack. And like Jay said, they shouldn't be dating if they are operating like that. You do have to build that confidence, like, no, 10 toes down. I'm going to, stand up for this because this is what I value. This is what I believe. And you have to keep the faith that you will meet someone like that. If you are willing to wait enough time for that, then fine, be encouraged in your waiting season. And we're not saying that there's a guarantee that you will wait a long time either. You could find yourself in a situation, like I said before in another episode, find your tribe. If you want to wait, go to where other people are waiting. Don't go to places where people are not waiting and then act like I can't find nobody who's waiting because you're in a place that no one's waiting at. Go find the celibacy people. Go find the abstinence people. Go there. There are literally apps, groups, social media presence on platforms now that meet your need. So ladies, gentlemen who decide to wait till marriage, there are audiences and avenues and communities for you. And prayerfully, you'll find the right person for you. And if you do end up dating someone who may not be in alignment on that tip, ask them some strong questions like, well, how long would you want to do this whole courtship thing? Because to be honest, women want sex too. And maybe we don't want to, we're at a point where we're old enough to know what we want in a marriage. And so we're like, yeah, I'm not trying to be dating you for a year and not having sex. What can you do in 3 months? Are you ready? Would that man be willing to wait at least 3 months? Can there be a compromise? Because relationships, marriage is going to have some form of compromise. If you're willing to wait 3 months for me, we get to know each other, we do the work, we get engaged, we get married, then yeah, you can get all the loving you want. So I'm just bringing that up as an option too. I think that can also happen. So it's not always like cut and dry, black and white. Sometimes you have to figure out the context between the two parties involved and see if there's going to be a compromise for the best for their relationship, or you're just not going to be compatible in that area and move on.
Wow. Gems, facts. You dropped the mic. I'm in complete agreement with you. And one of the things that you hit on, two things that I've been speaking with women about, which is expectations and intentions, right? So first and foremost, if a woman is waiting and they want to meet a man who's waiting as well, you have to expect that. You have to expect that the men that you come in contact with that you're going to meet are waiting. And I'm not talking about in an impractical way. I'm talking about what you are expecting to draw towards you. And to your point, Tatiana, perfectly, intention. You can't be saying you waiting for this guy, but you don't go out nowhere. You just like sitting in the house. You gonna be that person that we talking about. You single forever, and you probably not gonna meet that person. You have to go out, put yourself in those communities, like you mentioned, and like JD had even Tiffany had pointed out. Find your tribe. That's the key. That's the key. So, man, tonight has been good. I don't want us to go too long. CEO, before we wrap up, were there any last words that you wanted to say or share?
What I was when while she was talking, I was thinking like when it comes to your standards, when whether it's men or women, then the best analogy I can come up with is treat it similar to something that you're allergic to. If I'm allergic to pineapples, I'm not going to purposely go anywhere near pineapples out of fear of damn near killing myself. So people should treat their standards and their non-negotiables in relationships the exact same way.
Wow. And on that note, I want to thank everybody for joining us tonight. I appreciate it. Thank everybody on the panel. Andre, CEO, Cherie, we appreciate you. Tatiana, my lovely co-host. Thank you so much, you guys in the chat. We appreciate it. We'll be back next Tuesday. We got another great topic next week, just so that you know. We'll be talking about dating after divorce. So, yeah, this is a topic that I've had people reaching out for me to talk about for months. We're finally going to do it. So come join us next Tuesday, 7 p.m. Eastern time. We look forward to it. On that note, we'll catch you guys next week. Stay blessed.